Dragon Clan. Mingfei Returns from Warhammer 40,000. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Rhythm. Who posted this? Fingal. That guy has administrator privileges. Where did he get the S rank? Where did he get the news? Where's the picture? If there's no picture, tell me. It's been 2 years, right? Why is he still here? The comments were overwhelming, and most people were attracted by the title, but when they clicked in, they found that there was no real information and cursed Fingal. Don't worry, the big one is coming. Fingal, who had the eye-catching title of administrator, appeared in the message, triggering another wave of bombardment from the students. He has always been the rhythm master of the forum. Every time he appears, he either breaks a big news or brings a big rhythm. The news is absolutely genuine. This S-rank newcomer is from China. He is 16 years old this year and hasn't even finished high school. He was recruited in advance because he awakened his bloodliner. Fingal explained, and at the same time copied Mingfei's personal file information to another document and posted it. The forum paused for a while. Then a storm broke out. Fingal, who are you kidding? You're just pulling a bunch of cats and dogs and claiming their S level. You're not even going to take it easy for yourself, are you? Is this kind of person worthy of being around our big boss Caesar? Yes, report this headline-grabbing guy. Fingal should step down from the news department. Nearly 2,000 students, professors and staff on and off campus came to the same conclusion after looking through Mingfei's file. It's horrible. He was a young handyman who lacked love and lived in his aunt's house. He had mediocre grades, was weak and powerless, and loved going to internet cafes. He was quiet until a few months ago and he suddenly became motivated and his grades soared. He was also a believer of an unknown small sect and called himself an angel of death. He was so immature. Compared with the noble Caesar Gattuso who had just enrolled, this S-level guy was just a pig. When students mentioned Caesar Gattuso, the first thing they thought of was his Bugatti. The second was his first words when he entered the academy. You can challenge me, but I'm ready to laugh at you. Someone quickly dug up the authoritative background of Gattuso's surname. The family power that many elite children in Castle were proud of was just a straw in front of the Gattuso family. And according to gossip, the Gattuso family was also one of the representatives of the school board. Just in terms of family power, Caesar was 10,000 blocks away from this guy who came out of nowhere. Occasionally, a message from a user with 3,000 white hairs would pass by. This junior brother is really super awesome, okay? But it was immediately drowned out by the verbal criticism of Fingal and the disdain for Mingfei. When the number of posts reached 3,000, Fingal pinned the second post, with a bright red title. Amazing. S-level students are picked up and dropped off by the principal himself. Looking for the secret between the two, the photo accompanying the post was a scene of Principal Angus, who looked indulgent, looking at Mingfei with undisguised eyes of love during the platform pickup. Fingal is indeed a master of rhythm. This post even made the lurking vice president come out. Night Watchman. Fingal is awesome. At Cambridge folding knife. Night Watchman is the idea of the vice president of the college, and he is also the person in charge of this forum. With such a big shot taking the lead, not to mention the students, even the professors and teachers began to read and reply to the posts. Gurin, Professor. Fingal is awesome. At Cambridge folding knife. Mans Runstad, Professor. Fingal is awesome. At Cambridge folding knife. In the dormitory 301, Fingal was lying on the bed, looking at the posts jumping wildly on the computer screen, and the 999 unread private messages, and his face was full of joy. The pleasure brought by a big rhythm is only secondary. The main big investors are still the bosses who want to spend money to buy the exclusive explosive information about the newest level Mingfei in his hand. After refreshing again, Fingal found that the repeater in the post was smashed. Greenland Shadow. At Cambridge folding knife. Fingal was shocked. Fuck, even the executive department was blown out. The first floor of the library, the professor's lounge. Professor Manstein looked at the forum where the messages kept scrolling, and his eyes twitched. Forget about that bastard dad, why did Schneider come out to join in that fun? He glanced at Ange sitting opposite him, and the other party just smiled faintly at these crazy ad messages. You just let Fingal go on. If you don't explain, I guess all the teachers and students in the school will think Lumenfei is your illegitimate child. Manstein sighed. Then I'll explain it. Ange smiled, his yellow but powerful fingers danced on the keyboard, and finally hit enter. Lumenfei is an excellent student I found in China. I think his bloodline is worthy at his S level. Do you trust him so much? I can't see through him at all. Manstein's voice became low. More than 3 months ago, he was always a child with average grades, extremely lacking love and lonely. Half a month ago, he killed the B-level corrupted hybrid with immortality in less than 3 minutes. Oh, yes, because of the wrong intelligence, we almost lost a lovely female commissioner. Ange nodded. That's not the point. It's his change. As far as I know, there is only one possibility that can make a person change so much in a short period of time. Ange interrupted Manstein's conjecture. Didn't he say it? His change comes from his faith. Do you really believe in his so-called faith? If faith can change people, then the police stations and prisons in this world should be converted into churches. Manstein said coldly. And the principal's reply once again broke the repeater in the post. The students were in high spirits, and many of them studied the file of Lumenfei over and over again, trying to find some extraordinary clues. We've made a fortune. Principal, you did a great job. Finger was overjoyed. With the principal's approval, Lumenfei's worth had skyrocketed again. Now there was a large group of people who believed that he had the real exclusive information other than the file, and wanted to pay a high price to buy it. The last bombshell. 2 minutes later, the third post with a red title was pinned to the top again. Breaking news. The S-level freshman designated by the principal actually has this kind of relationship with another level freshman. The picture accompanying the post was Lumenfei and Shuzaham smiling at each other in Odeon Square, and the rooster statue on the top of Valhalla was bathed in the sun, shining between the affectionate smiles of the two of them. And Shuzaham took a deep breath and glanced at Lumenfei. The other party was sitting at the table, with a small incense burner in his hand, chanting an unknown ballad in a low voice. And a phone and a laptop lay quietly on the table. He took another look at the photo that was obviously photoshopped, covered the computer screen, and took a deep breath. Then he stood up and walked towards the dormitory door. It would be best to let him delete this nonsense post before Lumenfei labels the guy as a heretic and purifies him. Thanks to the 4 angels of death, Shiniki Kater, Yingube, Eris Godzilla, and Nanko Sanlei, for their rewards and support. Thanks to all the loyal Astates for their monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Today I am typing on my phone while volunteering. I am really sorry for the slow update. The post I posted in the book review area seems to have been hidden and cannot be seen. Chapter 27 Opening. Shuzaham opened the door and saw the students gathered outside. They had different expressions, some were curious, some were surprised, or questioning. Shuzaham sighed softly. Thanks to the senior brother next door, he and Lumenfei were famous. He lowered his eyelids slightly, and when he opened them again, a pair of dazzling golden pupils lit up and scanned everyone. Everyone, is there anything wrong? Like a furious lion in the dark, the students showed fear on their faces, and were frightened away by the pair of golden eyes and stopped surrounding dormitory 302. Shuzaham closed the dormitory door with his hand, walked to 301 and knocked on the door. Who is it? If you have something, come tomorrow. I'm busy today. Finger's duck voice came from the room. Bang. Shuzaham turned around and kicked the door open, and walked in. Immediately afterwards, Fingers begging for mercy was heard in dormitory 301. Not long after, the third red post that was conquered by more than 200 girls replied to the floor suddenly disappeared. But at the same time, Shuzaham, the A-level freshman, also appeared in everyone's sight. His golden eyes staring at everyone were filmed and posted on the forum. Everyone began to speculate about his identity and his background. Some even thought that he was the S-level named Lumenfei. What's wrong? The ceremony was over, and Lumenfei noticed the strange movement coming from the dormitory. Nothing. Shuzaham shook his head calmly. Have you completed the ceremony of awakening the machine soul? No, what I just performed was not the ceremony of awakening the machine soul, but the purification ceremony. Lumenfei said solemnly. In the idealistic universe where everything has spirits, even machines cannot escape the pollution of chaotic evil forces. So even if you install a screw, you have to go through a complicated purification ceremony. Changing a light bulb also requires the cooperation of 3 mechanical servants, 1 responsible for changing the light bulb and 2 chanting binary poems beside you. If these complicated ceremonies are not performed, if it is polluted and flooded by electronic demons, then I am afraid that even the entire planet will not be able to be kept. Okay. Shuzaham was not surprised by Lumenfei's various weird religious behaviors. Did you find any valuable information? Lumenfei asked. No, we're only freshmen now, and we don't have the authority to query a lot of information. After the 3-year exam confirms your S-level authority, we should be able to query more complete information. Shuzaham took out a black magnetic card, which was a student ID and also a credit card guaranteed by Citibank. Maybe we can take a straightforward approach. Go straight to where they store the information, and then take away all the valuable information. Lumenfei's expression became indifferent, and the invisible murderous intent filled the air, as if even the temperature in the room had dropped a lot. If you really want to do this, I can go with you. Shuzaham said calmly, without any hesitation. Just kidding. Lumenfei smiled, and the indifference on his face disappeared in the blink of an eye. This place gives me a pretty good feeling. And to purify the aliens, we still need a base camp. The holographic screen played the scene of Lumenfei killing the B-level fallen hybrid Clay. When Lumenfei took out the Smith revolver, the picture quickly zoomed into Clay's forehead. The gunshot ran out, and the first silver bullet could be seen hitting his forehead. However, under the enhanced body of Word Spirit Immortal, this bullet only slightly penetrated the skin. But it was enough. This bullet was a fixed nail, and the following 4 bullets were a series of life-threatening hammers, driving the nail into Clay's head. Perfect shooting. Angers applauded. The screen ratio returned to normal, and after Lumenfei gave the hybrid lying on the ground a final shot, he turned his head. The pair of golden vertical pupils like a top predator were blazing and dazzling in the dimness. Look at these eyes, I feel like he's more like a 3rd-generation species. Manstein said in a deep voice. No, Manstein, he's a human. Ange smiled, a silver folding knife fluttering in his hand like a butterfly. If he's a human, then will the next human you let in be a Dragon King? Manstein said in a deep voice. Calm down, my dear Professor Manstein. If it's really a dragon, I'll cut his throat. But he's different, I can feel his hatred for the dragon race from the bottom of his heart. Ange stopped playing with the folding knife, and his smile gradually disappeared. What we need now is not an army, but a genius. Somebody. The one. A unique genius, a dragon slayer that the Dragon Kings and even the Black Empire fear. Ange whispered, even surpassing my friend, Menik Castle. Manstein was silent and didn't speak again. He looked at the forum on his phone and pressed refresh. The post that could easily cause bad habits was deleted and replaced with a bright opening post. Finger relied on his status as an administrator to open many odds, including big, small, long, and short. From small things like whether the cafeteria will have extra food tonight, whether a professor will order grilled white sausage or pork elbow, to big things like whether the number of A-level students in this year's 3-year exam is odd or even, he always finds ways to open odds to make money. The current long-term odds are whether there will be someone who defeats Caesar Gattuso, and Finger bets 200 that there won't be. And now, the odds he opened are, can Lumenfei keep his S-level in the 3-year exam? Yes or no. The amount of money bet on no soared rapidly, and soon reached nearly $30,000. The overwhelming advantage made it almost impossible to see the S-bar. The horrible file made the students and professors not believe that Lumenfei could keep his S-level. Even if the principal appointed it, it would be useless, only the 3-year exam could decide everything. Suddenly, the bar on the S side grew a lot. Rudolf Manstein, professor, bets $2,000 on yes. What the hell? The head of the discipline committee does not rectify the discipline but takes the lead himself. Just as the students were shocked, the bar on the no side grew a lot, suppressing the S that had just started to improve. Ditaggio bets $10,000 on no. That Caesar Gattuso finally showed up in this boiling wave tonight, and he made a big move as soon as he appeared. The students who were still a little hesitant immediately followed suit and bet on no. But then, the bar on the S side soared again. Murazame bets $30,000 on yes. A small group was created. Chapter 28 3 Exam. Lumenfei didn't know that Shuzaham had bet $30,000 on him, and he didn't know that he had become the focus of the storm at Castle College. But even if he knew, it wouldn't make him have the slightest emotional fluctuation. The sun split the darkness of dawn like a sharp sword, and the dew on the evergreen Bermuda grass that is cold-resistant and drought-resistant reflected the halo of the sword. Ding! The bell of Castle College sounded melodiously, which was the bell for getting up. Lumenfei and Shuzaham stepped on the bell to complete the last step of the 80-kilometer fast and slow run, ending the morning physical training. There were also a few beautiful senior sisters who spontaneously ran with them on the way, but they were soon left behind by the two. The 3-year exam will be in 2 hours, but so far we don't know anything about the items of this exam. Shuzaham breathed rapidly, and his chest was burning as if there was a fire burning. Just go with the flow. Let's go, have breakfast. Lumenfei didn't care about it. He smiled and ran towards the cafeteria. The breakfast was also of standard German style, with many varieties, such as grilled white sausage with pastoral bread, corn chips and mashed potatoes. There were also Italian ham and smoked salmon sandwiched with bread, plus various butter, jam and chocolate sauce. It fits the famous German proverb, breakfast of a king, lunch of a gentleman, dinner of a beggar. During these 3 days, Castle College gave Lumenfei a very peaceful feeling. Apart from the students with alien blood, this college is a normal aristocratic university. In addition to exercise and eating, Lumenfei spent most of his time in meditation and prayer in the dormitory. On the way, he also asked for directions to the equipment department, but was told that freshmen who had not passed the 3-year exam were not allowed to go to the equipment department. Shuzaham was quite miserable. He took his mobile phone from the Hall of Heroes in Odeon Square to the roasted pork elbow in the cafeteria and took pictures one after another to deal with his mother's various concerned inquiries. Time quickly passed to nearly 10 o'clock in the morning, which was also the moment that the students of the entire Castle College were looking forward to, the 3-year exam that determined the class treatment of freshmen in the next 4 years. The amount of bets on whether Lumenfei can keep his S rank in the 3-year exam has approached $100,000. Because of Shuzaham's generous bet of $30,000, the ratio of yes to no has reached an astonishing 6-4. Get out of the way. Unrelated students should not disturb this exam. Manstein shouted loudly, his shining head standing out among the muscular school workers who were maintaining order. Under normal circumstances, the 3-year exam should be held on the 2nd floor of the college library, but the number of freshmen this time is the highest in history, reaching 179. Among them are special freshmen like Lumenfei, Shuzaham, and Caesar Gattuso. The college specially cleared a teaching building as the exam site. This also caused many students who got temporary vacations to come and join in the fun, and set their sights on Lumenfei, who has been at the center of the storm these days. Although he himself did not know this. He was assigned alone to an empty classroom on the 4th floor. A tall, thin man stood behind that desk, wearing a pure black suit that looked solemn as if he was going to a funeral. A black special breathing mask covered half of his face, and he stared at Lumenfei with eyes as cold as a knife. The cold-blooded director of the executive department, von Schneider. Time's up. You're the only one here, so there's no need to talk about exam discipline. Schneider said in a hoarse voice, picking up that document with a sealed seal on the table. He checked the integrity of the seal on the document in front of Lumenfei, then opened it, took out the test paper inside and put it on Lumenfei's exam desk. Lumenfei was slightly stunned. This was different from the test paper he remembered. There were no multiple-choice questions or fill-in-the-blank questions, it was just a piece of A4-sized snow-white watermarked paper, and there was no place to fill in your name. Prepared for the exam, and good luck. Schneider said coldly. He picked up the large-caliber silver-carved revolver on the desk, left the classroom and closed the door. Are we going to take listening? Lumenfei's eyes glanced at the speaker hanging in the corner of the ceiling. As the clock's hand pointed to 10 o'clock, a melodious music sounded from the speaker in the corner. Lumenfei raised his eyebrows. What was going on? Why was Bach's aria on the G string played in the exam? Was the 3-year exam actually a music exam? Was he supposed to draw the score and find the wrong pitch? In desperation, Lumenfei had to really draw straight 5-line scores on the white paper. If it were the old Lumenfei, he really didn't have much musical talent. But as a descendant of the Holy Blood Angels, in addition to praying to the Emperor, learning knowledge, art, and music is also one of the ways for them to calm their hearts and calm their souls to restrain their bloodthirst and black anger. Although Lumenfei thought he was not as good as his blood brothers in the regiment who were proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, he could still listen to music and draw scores. Outside the classroom door, Minister Schneider and Professor Manstein looked at Lumenfei who was writing furiously on the paper. No strange changes have occurred for the time being. Manstein breathed a sigh of relief. Schneider said nothing, holding the silver-carved revolver tightly in his hand. Inside, are there alchemical bullets? Isn't that a bit exaggerated? Manstein said. As long as he encounters any dangerous changes while listening to the dragon spell, the high concentration of mercury, which is highly toxic to the dragon race, will engulf this classroom. Schneider said coldly. I didn't ask you to do this. Manstein's eyes widened. That's what you said, just in case. Brother. Someone whispered in Mingfei's ear. The pen-holding posture instantly changed to reverse grip, and the pencil changed from a drawing tool to a deadly weapon, but Mingfei stacked in the air. The little devil Mingfei sat on the desk, swinging his legs, wearing white square-toed leather shoes on his feet. He was wearing a small black suit and a white silk scarf, and a pair of light golden eyes were staring at Mingfei. You again, Mingfei frowned. Don't hit or kill me every time you see me, brother. The sun shone into the classroom. Mingfei was bathed in the bright sun, with an angelic smile on his delicate face. What are you going to do this time, devil? I want to hear your story. In a flash, Mingfei appeared opposite Mingfei's examination table, holding his delicate face with his palm. He smiled and said, Tell me the story of him, brother. It's the one you believe in, the Emperor. Chapter 29 Story. The Emperor's Story. Mingfei subconsciously wanted to agree. But he immediately remembered that the delicate little boy in front of him was a devil. What do you want? Mingfei said in a deep voice. I just want to hear a story. I really want to know, that Emperor, why can you, my brother, fight for him so wholeheartedly? Mingfei's pale golden eyes were filled with expectation, like a child eagerly waiting for candy. There is no need for a reason to fight for him. Okay, since you want to know, then I will tell you. Mingfei thought again and again, and still chose to start talking about the great journey of the Emperor. This Mingfei is very strange. If he is really a demon, then when he helped him pull out the false god spear on the viaduct, he would have been burned to ashes by the Emperor's holy light on his body. And now Mingfei really has no way to exile or purify this little demon. The Emperor, he existed long before the first human city was built, and guided humanity forward in different identities in different eras. Because he was telling a story instead of preaching to the devil, Mingfei directly began to tell the historical stories he knew. In the 30th millennium of human history, after the golden age of mankind had completely fallen and collapsed under the dual blows of AI rebellion and warp storms, the great Emperor appeared before the world. He unified the extremely chaotic Holy Terror at the time, and established 20 powerful legions of angels of death, launching a great expedition to the galaxy. He vowed to make mankind great again, reclaim the lost planets and worlds, and return them to the glory of the human empire. And in the process of the Great Crusade, the 20 lost demigod descendants of the Emperor were also found one by one among the stars and became the leaders of each legion. The genes in the Lamenters, the legion I once belonged to, came from the holy angels among the 20 demigod descendants, the great Saint Rus. Speaking of the former father of genes, Mingfei proudly straightened his chest. That period was the most glorious period for mankind. The Emperor's great crusade penetrated the Milky Way, and all the alien creatures that had slaughtered mankind in the past were wiped out, until the Great Rebellion started by Horus Lucapel. But the smile of reverence and pride on his face did not last long, and was soon replaced by anger and hatred. The Great Rebellion. Mingfei pondered over this word, and a look of hatred and disgust appeared on his little face. He was the most valued son of the Emperor, the war commander of the Expeditionary Corps, and the close friend of the father of genes. But he led half of the Corps and their commanders to fall into the abyss, launching an unprecedented rebellion war against the Emperor. The great St. Charles foresaw his fate of dying in order to protect his father, but he still fought to the last moment to protect the Emperor without hesitation, and was killed by the Great Rebellion. Speaking of this, Mingfei's body was trembling. He had seen this scene dozens of times in the cursed hallucination of black rage, as if he had turned into the Gene Father and died in front of the throne of the great heresy. In the end, the Emperor killed Horus, but he also paid a huge price and was seriously injured, so that he had to be placed in the life support device of the Golden Throne. But even in these thousands of years, the Emperor has been protecting mankind all the time. The psychic star torch he lit serves as a beacon for human navigation in the chaotic ward. He allows the souls who died bravely to return to the side of his Golden Throne instead of being swallowed by the abyss. His will is incarnated as a living saint and continues to fight against the enemies of mankind. After becoming the champion of the regiment, Mingfei learned about the unknown history of the Great Heresy from the documents inherited by the weeks from the Mother Regiment. More detailed information was found in the battleship of the Dark Angels Regiment during the Great Crusade during a cleanup of a small space wreck. After reading it, Mingfei burned it immediately. This kind of thing not only cannot be exchanged for material assistance, but also will cause a lot of trouble. Rebels, no matter where they are, in which era, they are hateful existences. Mingfei said softly. He listened to this heavy, desperate, and cold story. That's right, betrayers must never be forgiven. Mingfei rarely reached a consensus with the little devil in front of him. But next time, don't tell such a terrible bedtime story, brother. It will give children nightmares. Mingfei smiled, stood up from the chair, turned and walked to the windowsill. Where do you want to go? Mingfei frowned. Of course, continue to find a way to get your seductive holy soul, brother. The little devil's voice was playful as he went away. Don't even think about it, devil. Mingfei shouted angrily. Then he saw Schneider standing in front of the examination table with an indifferent expression. The other party held the silver-carved revolver tightly in his hand, as if the revolver would be aimed at his head if he made any unusual movements in the next second. Mingfei saw his own blazing eyes reflected from the metallic luster of the gun. The exam time is over, don't be nervous. Professor Manstein appeared beside Schneider and nervously comforted Mingfei. Although he had seen it in the video, Manstein was still shocked after seeing this pair of beautiful and noble eyes in person. Mingfei took a deep breath, lowered his eyelids, and when he opened them again, his eyes had returned to their normal black pupils. This scene even surprised von Schneider. I don't think I'm done yet. Mingfei took advantage of their daze and quickly grabbed the pencil in his hand to draw a few more notes in 1 or 2 seconds. But the next second, his eyes widened. The 5-line score and notes he wrote on the white paper disappeared, replaced by a whole page with a bunch of circles like a chain of weird characters. What the hell is this? Mingfei cursed the little devil in his heart. That won't work. Everyone has to hand in their papers on time, including S-level students. After realizing what was happening, Manstein quickly collected the answer sheets and quickly sealed them in a file bag. Mingfei glanced at the clock, and the hands had already passed 12 o'clock. Okay, your so-called 3E exam is actually a music exam. Why is the speaker playing aria on the G string? Are you playing Bach's tunes with cellos and violins to destroy the aliens? He asked helplessly. Although this way of purifying the aliens sounds quite artistic. But if that's the case, then famous musicians such as Beethoven, Mozart, and Franz Joseph Haydn are actually brave warriors who once fought against the aliens? I fell asleep while typing last night, and was awakened by an unknown psychic call at around 4 o'clock and got up to continue typing. I will make up for the 6 updates I owe for the National Day, covering my face, as long as I get some rest and don't have to be dragged to be a white-collar worker. This chapter is a little history for new brothers who haven't watched Warhammer. Thanks to the elegant Big Cabbage Boss for the 5,000 reward support. Thanks to Lee Guofu, the abused soldier, Bubble Featherfish, Book Friend 1, 2, 0, 7, 0, 3, 0, 7, 3, 7, 4, 7, 6, 2, 9, Sam Legend, Long Out 2, Milupia Wang, Book Friend 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 3, 3, 5, 1, 8, 9, 3, Huang Jing Zillion, Shanking Zhuzi and other angels of death for their reward support. Thank you. Thank you to all the loyal Astates for their monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. I will catch up on some sleep and get ready to go to work. Chapter 30 Club. No, we never take violins to the battlefield to slay dragons. We hide the dragon spells under the music. Students with excellent bloodliness can quickly capture the dragon spells from the music, resonate with it, and write down the answers. This is the content of the 3E exam. Manstein explained, with a strange look on his face. Okay. Mingfei was helpless. In this case, even if Mingfei didn't do anything, he would still fail the exam if he handed in a page of music. Don't worry, Mingfei. It's normal to be unconscious during the dragon spell resonance. You have already completed the answers in that state. There are a total of 10 questions. As long as you write 10 dragon spells, you will be the new S-level student since the S-level who committed suicide 40 years ago. Manstein patted Mingfei on the shoulder and encouraged him. But those things are not me. Wait. I have to pray a purification prayer for the test paper. Mingfei's expression suddenly became extremely solemn. Purification prayer. Before Manstein had time to ponder the word, Mingfei's hand snatched the file back from him as fast as lightning. Manstein wanted to stop him, but Schneider stopped him. Look at what he wants to do. Schneider. Do you want to indulge him? Even the principal does not have the privilege to change the test papers after the exam. He said angrily. Don't jump to conclusions too early, he is not that kind of person. Schneider stared at Mingfei. The other party just placed the file back containing the test papers flat on the table without opening it. In his hand, there was a small incense burner, hanging on the file, closing his eyes and chanting a sacred song. The two professors watched Mingfei sing to a file for more than 2 minutes. After that, he opened his eyes, looking relieved, and politely handed the file back to Manstein. I will report today's events to the principal truthfully. Manstein took back the file bag, angrily said this, and quickly left the classroom. Schneider didn't say much, just looked at Mingfei deeply. Then he put away his revolver and turned away. I almost let my guard down. Mingfei breathed a sigh of relief. The test paper had been touched by the little devil, who knows if it would be contaminated? Demonic pollution is more terrible than alien heresy. The latter can directly destroy purification, but once the former spreads, he will never allow his pure hometown to be polluted by demons. Mingfei walked out of the examination room alone and saw Shuzham, who had been waiting at the door for a long time. It's a bit long. Didn't go well? He asked. You can't say it didn't go well. Mingfei took a breath of fresh air and didn't know how to start. He couldn't just say that he listened to back telling a story to the little devil who appeared, and the test was over. Then the test paper was filled with various incomprehensible characters by the little devil, and he made a purification prayer to ensure safety, which also caused the disgust of the bald professor. Let's talk about you. What dragon characters did you hear in the aria? Anyway, I didn't hear anything. Mingfei rubbed his forehead. I went back to the night, but you weren't in the car. When I regained consciousness, I found that I had written 8 dragon characters on the test paper. Shuzham looked calm. So that's dragon characters, that's really strange. Those alien characters are a bunch of circles like keychains, a bit like Korean. Mingfei muttered. A few hours ago, the school building, which had to be maintained by school workers who were formerly members of the Navy SEALs, was now deserted. Most of the students went to enjoy lunch, because the results of the 3-year exam could not be released on the spot, and there was not much point in staying on the scene. Only a few gamblers who placed large bets on the handicap tried to see something from Mingfei's expression to comfort their uneasy hearts. Caesar Gattuso was naturally not one of them. He walked over and greeted them with a smile. Hello, Mingfei, Shuzham. Mingfei blinked and looked at the handsome boy with long golden hair in front of him. This reminded him of his blood brothers in the regiment. The angel descendants who inherited the genes of St. Jerome were all top-notch handsome men without exception, who were good at both being in the hall and on the battlefield. Congratulations in advance on officially becoming an S-level student. Caesar's smile was as bright as the sun, and his deep blue eyes stared at Mingfei. It is said that even many boys fell under his charm, realized love beyond gender, and formed a fan club. I remember that your $10,000 bet was no. Shuzham said coldly. I wanted to place a bet on yes, but when I saw Professor Manstein place a bet, I changed my mind. Caesar's smile became a little cunning. I don't really like the nickname he gave me, the dandy who drives a Bugatti Veyron around the campus. But then I created a small account and placed a bet of $6,000 on yes, just below your aim, Sonic. What do you want to talk to me about? Mingfei smiled politely. He was not interested in betting on the handicap. Are you too interested in joining a club? Caesar asked. Club? Mingfei was stunned. It's a group organization among students. The college also encourages this method to enhance the cohesion of students and competitive sports. Shuzham explained. Yes, the 2 largest clubs in the college are the Student Union and the Linhard Club. The Linhard Club is an old club in the college with a long history and strict discipline. It is said that many alumni of the college have come from the Linhard Club. Caesar introduced. Then, can we set up a club ourselves? Mingfei's eyes lit up. Do you want to set up a club yourself? That's a great idea. With your S-level title, you should be able to attract a lot of people. Caesar smiled. Then do you want to join? Mingfei asked. The image of this blonde boy gave him a good impression. It would be great if he could develop into a devout fighting brother. Actually, I want to invite you two to join the student union with me. Caesar smiled and shook his head. The student union was established later than the Leonhard Society. If we join forces to suppress the Leonhard Society, it will definitely be quite interesting. But I still suggest that you two join a club with mature facilities, where excellent members can directly enjoy the various benefits of the club. For example, the student union has independent luxury suites, private chefs and bands, a ballet girl dance troupe, and often holds dances and cocktail parties with unlimited supply of champagne and red wine. Too luxurious a life can easily make people sink into desires, which is not suitable for me. Mingfei shook his head. This kind of activity is not conducive to cultivating excellent warriors. Praying devoutly to the emperor, purifying aliens, and playing chess, calligraphy, and painting are excellent chapter activities. The Leonhard Society should be suitable for you. They have many ancient secrets and knowledge. Caesar's deep blue eyes sparkled, and I am also looking forward to the moment when we face off. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 31 Bolt Gun. Congratulations, student Mingfei, you have passed the 3-year exam with excellent results, and your grade is S. You were officially a freshman at Castle College. Considering that you have not yet completed your high school studies, your grades and credits for this school year will be optimized. That Lumix, the bunch of graffiti he drew on my paper, turned out to be the standard answer. Mingfei looked at the email with a strange expression. Then he closed the email and continued to read the page of club creation instructions. Norma has sent our course schedule. The cultural course is a study of Old Norse, Introduction to Dragon Family Genealogy, Introduction to Magic Mechanics, and Introduction to Alchemical Chemistry semicolon. The practical course is a high-pressure physical fitness, Introduction to Precision Shooting, and Introduction to Cold Weapon Practical Combat. Shuizahang glanced at Mingfei. Introduction to Cold Weapon Practical Combat. Is the school sure that he still needs this course? Can all practical courses be rejected? I think I don't need to be taught. As expected, Mingfei said so. The course has been set and cannot be changed. But you can choose to skip classes. Then skip it. You can skip it too. I can teach you more practical things about combat. We can just fight back when we get the equipment and are strong enough. Mingfei said. Okay. Shuizaham nodded. It would be great if we could develop more combat brothers. Mingfei stared at the computer screen and gently pushed aside the purity mark he made with parchment in the upper right corner. To create a club, you need to apply to the college and rent a venue as the club's activity venue. Well, we have money, right? Yes, for example, the rent of the Amber Hall of the Student Union is $50,000 a year. Our current cash can rent it for 2 school years. Shuizaham said. The odds on the forum began to settle as the results of the 3-year exam came out. Many gamblers who followed Caesar's lead and bets heavily on no may not be able to fly around, but at least this semester they need to eat more pork elbows and boiled white sausages provided free of charge in the school cafeteria. The students who clicked yes with the idea that even if we lose, we can just eat elbows for a few days, what if we win? Earned themselves a month of rich supper. The dollar in Shuizaham's student ID card doubled. Yeah, then I'll apply tomorrow. Mingfei was very excited. What about the name of the club? Emperor Salvation Society? Empire Crusade? God Killer? Shuizaham was obviously not good at naming. Weeping Angels? Mingfei had an idea long ago. The name of the 9th Legion Blood Angels during the Great Expedition was too heavy, and Mingfei did not dare to compare himself to the Great and Holy Gene Father. So he named the angel with the word weeping from the Weeping Legion as the starting point for his extermination of aliens in his hometown. Weeping Angels, Shuizaham hesitated. I'll leave this to you tomorrow. I'm going to the equipment department tomorrow. Mingfei closed his computer, took out a piece of paper and pen, turned around and asked Shuizaham. By the way, do you want to use a grenade launcher? The next day, Mingfei took a stack of drawings and set off again to the equipment department. The equipment department proudly named their base, which is more than 100 meters underground in Castle College, Jotunheim. In Norse mythology, Jotunheim is a dwarf country, where the world's top dwarf craftsmen forge weapons for the gods. In fact, the full name of the equipment department is the Institute of Alchemy and Scientific Engineering Applications. The people inside are not engaged in theoretical research, but are concentrating on studying how to transform science and alchemy into practical applications, that is, various explosives. It just so happens that Mingfei needs such professional talents. After taking the elevator for nearly 10 minutes, Mingfei arrived at the entrance of the equipment department. Someone has changed. Where is the last person? Mingfei asked in surprise. The one you're talking about is Kamen Rider Kuaga, and his duty period has ended. The one in front of you now is Kamen Rider Kabata. The man guarding the door in red armor and with horns similar to those of a rhinoceros beetle slowly raised his hand and pointed to the ceiling. My grandmother said, no outsiders are allowed to enter the equipment department. Identify yourself immediately. Here's your student ID. Mingfei handed over his black card, keeping calm, and was not surprised by these neurotic guys. Kabata King walked up to take the black card, swiped it on the screen by the door, and the green light came on. Student Mingfei, rank S, with sufficient authority, allowed to enter Wattelheim. A mechanical and cold female voice sounded. The Mingfei. Jia Doan was obviously stunned for a moment, and looked at Mingfei from top to bottom through the mask. Although you were S-class, if you really want to go in, I still have to ask the minister. He bet you $300 no. No, I won't go in. Don't you call yourselves the top dwarf craftsman? I'm here to ask you to help me make weapons. Mingfei shook his head, took the student card and handed the drawings in his hand to Jia Doan. The correct way to say it is that we are super elites like top dwarf craftsmen, not dwarfs. The average height of our equipment department is 1.7 meters. And, even if you're S-class, you didn't ask us to make toys for you. Jia Doan took the drawings and chattered, and after a simple look, he immediately shut up. Can you see it clearly like this? Mingfei looked at Jia Doan and almost stuck the drawings to his face, and said speechlessly. No problem. I can see it clearly. Tell me, what weapon is this you drew? Jia Doan said excitedly. Godwin DS bolt pistol, mortal customized version, firing .70 caliber special bolt bullets. Mingfei introduced. The bolt gun he used during the weeks was customized for us natives. The superhuman body and the assistance of power armor can well suppress the terrifying recoil of the bolt gun. And if a mortal uses it forcibly, even if he just fires a shot, his arm will be forcibly torn off his body. Considering this, Mingfei can only choose the mortal version of the bolt gun used by the Battle Sisters and the political commissars of the Astra Militarum. Why, can you do it? I have drawn it in great detail. Mingfei said. Drawing a detailed diagram of the bolt gun is not a difficult task for him, because the weeps suffered from isolation and often did not receive assistance, and often had to rely on themselves. Therefore, every Weeper warrior would repair his own weapons, and the technical sergeants of the regiment were first-class technical masters. That is, technical masters. From a structural point of view, there should be no problem, but the firing pin and the barrel need to be tested to know which material is more suitable. Jia Doan said excitedly. What about the explosive bombs? Can you mass-produce this special ammunition? Mingfei asked again. Thanks to Gaodong Biao Zhang, Song Xiao 2, Shuai Swixing Xing, Yu Lerli, Book Friend 2, 2, 2, 9, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, 4, 5, 3, 7, 8, Rurulu, Reader 1, 3, 7, 8, 5, 1, 7, 5, 1, 6, 3, 9, 5, 8, 7, 8, 4, Book Friend 2, 2, 2, 6, 1, 6, 1, 4, 2, 5, 8, 5, 2, all the angels of death, for their reward and support. Thank you. Thank you for the monthly tickets and recommendation tickets of all the loyal auditors. These chapters are about the daily life and transition chapters of the Academy. You may want to rest for a while. After paying off your debts tomorrow, Mingfei will start killing. Chapter 32 Cooperation. Mingfei checked the information about the bolt gun yesterday. He found that in the 960th year of the second millennium of his hometown, an American company MB Associates had manufactured similar firearms. Since these elites of the equipment department dared to call themselves the dwarves of Valheim, and with his own detailed drawings, Mingfei thought that he would accept them even if they made a simplified version of the bolt gun. But the bolt bomb is different. As ammunition dedicated to the bolt gun, each bolt bomb is loaded with rocket propellant in addition to the conventional charge. After the charge pushes the bolt bomb out of the barrel, the rocket propellant ignites and propels it. The neatly designed fuse can explode after penetrating the target to cause maximum damage. Moreover, the materials used to make the bolt bomb also need to be replaced. After all, the current technological level of the hometown cannot be compared with the human empire of more than 40,000 years. Although we in Valheim are best at making explosions, the Armor King scratched his head while grabbing the drawings and realized this. Mingfei nodded. He had seen posts on the forum scolding the equipment department, saying that the things they made would explode. As for when to explode, that is the second step. The students who were assigned to the equipment department had to first confirm where it would explode, in their own bags or at the feet of the enemy. To be honest, I quite like this kind of miniature armor-piercing rocket grenade, but we estimate that it will take some time to conduct experiments, the proportion of the charge, the proportion of the metal core mass, and the rocket propulsion stage. I think it's best to switch to our Valheim's lightweight alchemy technology. Mingfei nodded. That's why he wanted to find these professionals. But he didn't let Jia Doan continue his speech. Very good, these things will be handed over to you to optimize. You just need to ensure that the explosive bombs made can destroy the aliens. Now let's look at the next one. Alien? Mingfei pulled out the second drawing, and Jia Doan, who didn't understand what alien meant, was immediately attracted. Oh. This is definitely the most violent melee weapon I have ever seen. He shouted excitedly. This is a chainsaw sword. You can think of it as a combination of a chainsaw and a machete. It shouldn't be difficult for you to make this kind of weapon. I can modify one myself with a greening chainsaw. At this point, Mingfei couldn't help but mourn the machine soul of the chainsaw sword. Although it was born not long ago, it was brave and violent. After bathing in the glory of the Emperor, it drank the blood of the false god. That's true. The only trouble is the power ranging, but it's not a big problem. As long as you don't pursue mass production, you can use alchemical technology to improve it. Jia Doan put his head on the drawing again and looked at it carefully. Saw teeth are also a key point. You have to use the best materials to make it to ensure its lethality. Mingfei said, I'm not in a hurry for the grenade gun. You should make this chainsaw sword first. No problem. If you take this drawing back and show it to the director, he will definitely interrupt all current projects and focus on overcoming the difficulties of your grenade gun and grenade. Jia Doan patted his chest. Project? Is it a project for a weapon? Mingfei became interested. It can be considered a weapon. We recently went to see Gundam as a group, and now everyone is studying how to make a land-based version of Zakyu. Also, the combat version of the armor for Kamen Rider Agent is also under development, Kabata introduced enthusiastically. Okay, I see. Then how much do you plan to charge? I don't know your price. Mingfei interrupted Kabata's long speech again. Money. The equipment department is not short of money. As long as we ask for research on dragon-slaying weapons, the principal will approve any price. And compared to money, we want you to sell the ownership of these two weapon blueprints, including the subsequent modification, mass production and other rights, to Valheim. Kabata didn't even look at the student ID that Mingfei handed over, but shook Mingfei's hand expectantly. Why? Can you represent the equipment department? Mingfei raised his eyebrows. Ahem. Now introduce yourself. Spring Hall. Timos, Director of the Alchemy Engineering Department of Valheim. Kabata straightened his back. The minister is guarding the gate himself. Everyone in Valheim is equal. Even the director Akajulu Ahmed Mohammed Farooq needs to take turns guarding the gate of Valheim. Minister Springhall said so. Mingfei was thoughtful, staring at Minister Springhall wearing the Kamen Rider Kabata King suit in front of him, and the corners of his mouth suddenly curled up slightly. No, I don't sell the blueprints, I just give them to you for reference. He rejected the equipment department's request to buy his blueprints. Our price will not be low. Springhall was anxious. Let your director talk to me, I'll wait for him here. At the same time, Mingfei took back the blueprints of the grenade launcher and chainsaw sword from the other party, with a polite smile on his face. No problem. I'll go and inform him now. Springhall quickly pushed open the door of the equipment department and ran in. Not long after, Minister Springhall reappeared with an Arab wrapped in a closed protective suit. Hello, Director Akajulu Ahmed Mohammed Farooq. Mingfei greeted the director with a smile and read out his long name. Just call me Director Akajulu. I heard from Springhall that you have two weapons drawings with a lot of creativity and research. Director Akajala looked much more normal. To be exact, I drew them. Lumenfei handed the 2 drawings to him, and Springhill quickly took them and handed them to Akajala. It's really creative. This kind of weapon with violent aesthetic should be in the hands of all our Alzheimer's. After a quick reading, Akajala quickly gave his own evaluation, staring at Lumenfei with bright eyes. You really don't want to sell them? I don't want money, I want to make a small secret deal with you. Lumenfei approached the 2, but Akajala and Springhill took a step back at the same time. Director Akajala's eyes were even more alert and terrified. Lumenfei silently took a step back. The deal I'm talking about is, I can give you the blueprints. But for the subsequent weapon upgrades, ammunition, etc. You, what Alheim, must give priority to supplying our weeping angels. I have a question. Springhill raised his hand to interrupt Lumenfei. What is the weeping angel? The name of the club I'm about to establish. Pretty cool. Minister Springhill gave a thumbs up. What Alheim will not become a private service agency for any student club. Director Akajala said righteously. But I can draw a lot of weapon equipment blueprints like this that are created for you. Lumenfei said with a smile. Chapter 33 Deadpool and Deal. Director Akajala's heavy breathing came from the respirator in the protective suit. Unlike the creations in Gundam, Kamen Rider or Eva that look awesome but are too difficult to make, the weapon drawings provided by this S-level gave them a solid manufacturing direction. However, the drawings still recorded a lot of materials and elements that they had heard of for the first time. They still had to study whether they could make them. But what Alheim will only give priority to the equipment on the drawings you provided for the Weeping Angel. For other aspects, we will still directly obey the school board and the principal. Director Akajala stated in advance. Lumenfei was happy in his heart. This was enough. There was a professional and top technical support group responsible for making weapons and equipment, so he only had to concentrate on eliminating and purifying the aliens as a warrior. Then we'd better sign a cooperation contract, he said. This kind of transaction made Lumenfei think of the wealthy Mechanicus. As long as you find lost technology or items from the Golden Age, or fragments of the STC standard construction template, you can exchange all kinds of goodies with the Mechanicus. From small plasma weapons and melter weapons, to medium-sized Terminator power armor and Centurion power armor, and as large as an entire planet. What you can exchange depends on what you find. For example, during the spaceship cleaning operation to obtain the secret historical data of the Great Heresy, Lumenfei also found a fragment of the weapon STC template of the monomolecule gravity blade. The regiment used this fragment to exchange a batch of weapons and equipment from the Mechanicus, and even 2 Terminator power armors, which made them richer all of a sudden. Of course, the equipment department is obviously no match for the Mechanicus, not only in terms of technology, but also in their psychopathology. After the chainsaw sword is finished, after signing the contract at the entrance of the equipment department, Director Akajala rushed into the door with the blueprint and the contract, leaving Lumenfei behind who had not finished speaking. Lumenfei had to leave first and wait for them to finish the weapons. The establishment of the Weeping Angel Club was also very smooth. When Lumenfei, an S-level student, heard that he wanted to create a club, he submitted an application to the Academic Affairs Department and received a response within 2 hours. Then there was the venue. There were still many clubs in Castle College. In addition to the Linhard Club and the Student Union, there were the Kendo Club, the Swimming Club, the Sailing Club, the Esports Club. Many student hobby clubs almost occupied the affordable venues, and Shuzaham could only rent the more luxurious but more expensive Black Moon Hall. The S-level students had just arrived and established their own mountain with great fanfare, which attracted a lot of attention. Many freshmen came here because of the reputation, but they were soon discouraged by the name of the club, Weeping Angel, which was as immature as the title that the S-level students called themselves. 3 days later, there were still only Lumenfei and Shuzaham as members of the Weeping Angel Club. Then, when Professor Manstein pushed open the door of the Black Moon Hall, it was already October. As soon as he entered the door, he was shocked. A huge painting over 4 meters high was hung in the lobby of the Black Moon Hall. In the painting, a holy angel with white wings on his back was looking at him. But unlike the angels in the Bible and mythology who wore holy white robes, this angel was wearing heavy golden armor, holding a blood-red crystal sword in one hand and a sharp spear with a blood drop-shaped tip in the other. A halo that radiated a sacred light like the sun shone on the back of the angel's head. Behind him, a group of warriors wearing dark yellow strange armor held ancient and heavy black guns, ready for battle. On their large and heavy black and white checkered shoulder armor, a tearful red heart was clearly visible. Pa! 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 Under the angel's gaze, Shuzaham launched the most violent attack on Mingfei. The weapon was a training bamboo sword he borrowed from the Kendo Club. If it was a real weapon, he would probably have been killed by Mingfei 127 times today. He also saw Mingfei's fighting skills, which were perfect art that had been tempered and pursued the efficient deprivation of life, absolute violence, and absolute lethality. The cassock slash, the full moon continuous cut, the lion manifestation, Shuzaham used all his skills, but every one of his decisive moves was dodged or blocked by the opponent. The next second, the bamboo sword's edge would gently imprint on his forehead or heart. The last blow, the bamboo sword in Mingfei's hand fell on his head, knocking him to the ground. This attack, he died 6 more times. There is a lot of progress, but your moves still have redundant movements and need to be refined. What you need to consider is how to bring death to the enemy in the most efficient way. Mingfei calmly put away the bamboo sword, turned around and greeted Manstein, who was watching them practice. "Hello, Professor Manstein." Manstein had just received a joint complaint letter from multiple teachers of physical fitness class, precision shooting class, cold weapon practical class, etc. The day before yesterday. The letter complained that S-level student Mingfei had never attended their classes for more than 2 months since the start of school, which was very disrespectful to them. But based on what he had just seen, Manstein felt that Mingfei was respecting them by not attending their classes. "Are you here to see me or Shuzaham?" Mingfei asked. "To both of you." Manstein put aside the question about the complaint letter in his mind. There was a mahogany tea table in the corner of the hall, and Mingfei skillfully made a cup of hot tea for Manstein. Shuzaham sat aside, his breathing still not calming down. "Where is Professor Gurin? Why didn't he come with you?" Mingfei asked curiously. The interesting old professor with silver hair was his and Shuzaham's mentor. It was said that he was a tenured professor at the University of Chicago. Now he is working hard to become a tenured professor at Castle College. He is now pleading with Finkel in the Academic Affairs Department, asking them not to reduce Finkel's grade to F. Manstein looked strange. He and Guerin had been friends for many years. When he was at the University of Chicago, he often copied Guerin's homework until he graduated with a doctorate. In order to agree to Guerin's request to let Mingfei and Shuzaham become his students, Manstein even slightly offended the head of the executive department, Schneider. Because Professor Schneider also intended to recruit these 2 students with excellent practical skills. Mingfei nodded. "What do you want to talk to us about?" "Not so good news." Manstein's expression became solemn. "Before you enrolled, there was new intelligence progress on the B-level fallen hybrid you killed." He paused for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "You should have known the information about Deadpool, right?" Chapter 34 Revenge 2007, 3:46 a.m. Chicago time. Sacred Heart of Mary Hospital in Chicago. A terrified woman's scream broke the silence of the inpatient department. Several security guards from the hospital rushed to the scene and found a woman who had fainted in the women's restroom on the 5th floor, and the most horrifying and bloody painting they had ever seen on the wall at the end of the women's restroom. At 5:48 a.m., the sky was at its darkest moment before dawn. The red and blue flashing police lights illuminated the pale white floor of the inpatient department. The downstairs of the Sacred Heart of Mary Hospital was already full of police cars, and police officers in Chicago Police Department uniforms cordoned off the scene. "God, this is definitely the most bizarre murder scene I have ever seen. Don't give me this hot dog covered with hot sauce. I have no appetite now and I see red." A dense cordon had been set up on the 5th floor of the crime scene. The police who were called up in the middle of the night to perform this emergency mission all looked nervous and smoked in the corridor to relax. Ding! The elevator reached the 5th floor, the elevator door opened, and von Schneider walked out with an indifferent face. His exaggerated outfit of black clothes and mask immediately attracted the attention of the police guarding the elevator door. "Chicago Police Department, this is a restricted area, no unauthorized people," but before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Schneider's cold eyes. "Special Department, notify your superior in charge of this case to see me." A man in a black windbreaker behind Schneider stepped forward, waved the ID in his hand in front of the police, and then immediately took it back. The police guarding the elevator didn't even see the badge on the ID, but he couldn't figure out the origins of the arrogant duo in front of him. But after all, he has been in the business for so long, and he still has the ability to read people's expressions. He will find the leader when he should, and will blame others when he should, and will never cause trouble for himself. He turned on the intercom hanging on his chest. Hey, boss, there are 2 people in the elevator who say they are from the special department and want to see you. Please come over. About half a minute later, a middle-aged police officer hurried out of a ward in the corridor. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Chicago Police Department. I didn't expect you to really come. The middle-aged police officer seemed to be relieved after seeing Schneider, and wiped his sweat repeatedly. Your superiors should have notified you, right? You now have 5 minutes to evacuate your people from the scene. Our department will take over here from now on. The man in the black windbreaker said. No, 3 minutes. Schneider's hoarse voice sounded, and then he rushed to the end of the corridor without looking back. Okay, our director said 3 minutes. You should hurry up. The man in the black windbreaker patted the deputy commissioner on the shoulder, completely ignoring his police rank and the power it represented, and followed Schneider. No problem, I'll notify them to leave now. The deputy director did not show any dissatisfaction. Instead, he picked up the intercom and gave an order for all police officers to evacuate the hospital. The police officers who received the evacuation order for the first time were still a little confused. They were called up in the middle of the night to perform an emergency mission, and now they were asked to leave. But they dared not disobey that deputy director's order. After repeating the order for the second time, the police officers, forensic doctors, sample collectors and other police station personnel packed up their things and left the 5th floor through the safe passage. Are those FBI? Or CIA? Although the scene of this case tonight is a bit cruel, it's not necessary to attract them here. The police guarding the elevator asked in a low voice. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. The order from the leaders above, if someone wants to take over this mess, let them take it. Said the deputy director. Ding. The elevator ran to the 5th floor again. A group of people in black windbreakers with suitcases poured into the floor. Their actions were as neat and uniform as their clothes, and they began to take over here with efficient and silent actions. You 2 can take the elevator down. A man in a black windbreaker politely asked the deputy director and the policeman guarding the elevator to leave. They had no choice. Cock, the deputy director agreed, and his eyes caught sight of the silver half-rotten World Tree badge on the chest of the man in the black windbreaker. After confirming that all irrelevant personnel had left the scene, Schneider pressed the headset and gave a cold order. The blockade team will block the corridors on the 5th and 4th floors. No one is allowed to enter these 2 floors. The investigation team will immediately start a carpet investigation and cannot miss any traces. The control team can directly control and arrest any suspicious persons found, and frigate bullets are allowed. If there is resistance, live ammunition can be used. The operation martial law is raised to A, and the operation begins. An organization called the Castle Academy Executive Department took over the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital. The black cheaters opened their suitcases, silently assembled cold guns, and filled the magazines with red bullets. The operation martial law is A, which means there is a possibility of fighting. In Castle Academy, where the learning atmosphere is no different from that of an ivory tower, the executive department is a cold-blooded and violent organization. Hunting down and handling dangerous or corrupted hybrids, recovering alchemical items, tracking down the sleeping places of dragons, monitoring the resurrection of dragons. Most of the specialists in the executive department are carrying out and handling these high-risk tasks. If they are not careful, they will die, and there is no guarantee that their bodies can be sent back to their hometown intact. For example, the protagonist in that bloody painting in the women's restroom on the 5th floor, executive department B-class specialist, Simmons. Les, bloodliner level B. Have died. The man in black beside Minister von Schneider whispered, trying to suppress his inner anger. The walls and the ground at the end of the women's restroom seemed to be washed by blood, and the scarlet was dazzling, as if it had become a slaughterhouse. At the focus of Schneider's sight, a broken headless corpse was nailed to the wall by dozens of sharp knives. Above the broken neck of the corpse, on the handle of a sharp knife, a blood-stained half-rotten World Tree badge hung. The strangest thing was that on the walls and the ground that were not stained by blood, there were dense and clear bloody handprints and footprints, the size of a baby's hands and feet. His sternum and ribs were shattered. He was hit hard when he stepped into this women's restroom, with a force equivalent to a head-on collision with a small car at a speed of 80 kilometers. But the fatal blow came from the knife that separated his head. After killing Simmons, the assailant left more than 100 wounds on his body and nailed him to the wall. Where is the head? Schneider asked in a deep voice. In the toilet sewer, found it was not flushed clean. The man in the black windbreaker gritted his teeth, unable to suppress his anger any longer, and shouted, "These bastards! They are declaring war on the executive department. Avenge. Crady." Schneider looked at the ceiling and whispered the two words written in blood. "Crady, I remember him. The corrupted half-blood who was killed before the S-class entered school," Schneider said. Chapter 35 War Practice Lesson 2007, 1526, Castle Academy, Black Moon Hall. "I know." Shoesham answered the information about Deadpool. "There is a limit, or a threshold, for those of us who have dragon blood in our bodies. If the part of the dragon blood exceeds that threshold, the will of the hybrid will be affected by the violence and killing of the dragons, and even the body will become dragon-like. And those who cross this limit and go further and further away, and become affected by killing and follow that power of the dragons, will be labeled as degenerate and dangerous, and will be hunted down and eliminated by the commissioners of the executive department." Manstein nodded, and his eyes turned to Lumenfei, who was listening quietly at the side. "It seems that you have made full use of the authority of your S-level student ID. These are all knowledge that can only be learned in the sophomore courses." Lumenfei kept a polite smile. "But Deadpool, I have only seen it in the information so far. It is a hybrid that has completely fallen and sunk into the dragon bloodliner, and can no longer be called a human. From the body to the heart, it has become an unconscious monster that only knows how to kill." Shoesham hesitated for a while before continuing. "No, you have seen it." Manstein shook his head. "You also killed them." Lumenfei and Shoesham looked at each other. The black shadows on the viaduct on the rainy night also belonged to Deadpool, but they have never revealed it to anyone so far. "On the night you killed the B-level fallen hybrid Credy Brand, you killed the 4 Deadpools," Manstein said. "Those 4 butchers," Lumenfei recalled. "That's right. But their fighting power is not like Deadpool." Lumenfei compared them with the black shadows on the viaduct in his mind, and the fighting power of the two is not at the same level. They are Deadpool transformed from humans. Manstein's expression became serious. "But this is different from what is recorded in the data. Deadpool is a monster transformed from a completely corrupted hybrid. Normal humans do not have dragon blood, so there is no condition for corruption." Shoesham frowned. "The hybrid organization that Credy Brand belongs to has a dark alchemy that can pollute humans into Deadpool puppets. This is the harvest and conclusion of the executive department after investigating the church. At 3 o'clock this morning, the unknown hybrid organization he belongs to launched a revenge against the college, and an executive department commissioner was brutally killed." Manstein said in a deep voice, "They are declaring war on the college." Hearing the word revenge, Shoesham immediately became very nervous. "I know your worries. Please rest assured, the branch commissioner has cooperated with the local family to secretly protect your family 24 hours a day." Manstein comforted. But in view of the poor performance of the white-haired senior sister Iris, Lumenfei was skeptical about the protection ability of the college branch. According to the request of Schneider, the head of the executive department, the investigation of this case will be used as a war practice course for sophomores. S-level student Lumenfei, A-level student Shoesham, Minister Schneider specifically asked you two to attend this course together. You have the right to refuse. I will apply to the principal to refuse Minister Schneider's request," Manstein said. "When will we leave?" Lumenfei said without thinking. Manstein did not answer, but looked at Shoesham. "Participate," Shoesham said in a deep voice. "Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, you'll take the CC-1000 Express with the sophomores." Manstein seemed to have expected it, and took out a document from his suit. "This practical course is extremely dangerous. This is the corpse disposal plan. If you die in the mission, we will send the corpse back to your hometown." He paused. "If there is still a corpse. I don't need this thing." Lumenfei didn't even look at the document. "I don't need it either." Shoesham pushed the document on the coffee table away. "But according to the rules, I will still sign for you." Manstein sighed, put away the documents, and reminded, "There is one more thing, don't be soft-hearted when killing people. The hybrids devoured by the violence of dragon blood have lost their qualifications as humans. No matter how they beg for mercy, howl, or cry bitterly, don't be soft-hearted. That's natural. I never show mercy to aliens and heretics." Lumenfei said as a matter of course. "Then what is your definition of aliens and heretics?" Manstein asked. "Species other than humans that harm innocent humans are considered aliens. Those who harm innocent humans in human form are considered heretics. Those who blasphemed the Emperor are considered heretics. Lu Mingfei's voice became cold. Very good, I worry too much. Then please have a good rest tonight, and tell the Angel of Death. Manstein nodded, got up and left. Only Lu Mingfei and Shuzaham were left in the huge Black Moon Pavilion. I heard that when a hybrid is in a state of high mental tension or excitement, it will resonate with its bloodline and awaken the power of the word spirit. Perhaps you can take this opportunity to try. Lu Mingfei said, and at the same time picked up the mobile phone on the tea table and called Director Akadura of the Equipment Department. Hello, Director Akadura? Please send the 2 stable explosive pistols and all the ammunition used in the last test to the Black Moon Hall. We will take them to test the actual combat effect tomorrow. I hope you can ensure that all the ammunition will explode only when it hits the enemy, not in the magazine. Mingfei is still a minor. He hasn't been to the battlefield yet, how can he go to such a dangerous place? Minister Schneider is seeking revenge. I want to find that principal. The next morning, on the platform of the station, Professor Guerin nervously grabbed Lu Mingfei's hand and yelled, attracting the attention of many sophomores who participated in the war practice class. He was wearing yellow pajamas and a nightcap like Santa Claus on his silver head. Apparently, he rushed over from the bed immediately after learning about this, without even changing his clothes. Guerin, don't go crazy here. Manstein pulled his friend away with a sullen face. It's okay, please trust us, Professor Guerin. Shuzaham comforted him. He held Murazame in one hand and a suitcase with the Silver Equipment Department logo in the other. Lu Mingfei was holding one in each hand. I didn't expect that you were also named by Minister Schneider to participate in this war practice class. A hearty laugh rang out, and Caesar Gattuso, the noble son of the Gattuso family, smiled as brightly as his golden hair in the morning sun. Shuzaham just said him briefly. He and Caesar were at loggerheads in the grades of several courses, and the competition was fierce, so their relationship was not very good. You want to participate too? Lu Mingfei raised his eyebrows. Of course. My family didn't approve of my participation in this war practice class and even took away the key to my Bargativiran. I got here by hitchhiking with Professor Guerin. Caesar said with a smile, so the 3 of us are companions, right? Chapter 36 Mission Meeting in downtown Chicago, about 10 kilometers away from the Sacred Heart of Mary Hospital, there is a temporary combat meeting room. After getting off the CC-1000 express train, the 49 selected sophomores and 3 freshmen were sent here by special cars. Most of them looked a little nervous. They all knew the dangers of this war practice class. We don't have much time, let's make it short. The man in the black windbreaker spoke in a deep voice, glancing at the students who are still wearing Castle School uniforms in the combat meeting room. Let me introduce myself, Li Jianxing, the Executive Department Specialist. Here's your fellow countryman. Caesar, who was sitting at the back of the meeting room, whispered to Lu Mingfei and Shuzaham. Those who can sit here are elites who prefer practical combat, and I don't want to motivate or provoke them. I sincerely hope that you can complete the course tasks standing up, and then return to the college safely, and never need to use the body disposal plan. Li Jianxing said in a deep voice. Someone in the meeting room took the lead in applauding, expressing full trust and respect for the instructor. Very good. Now please turn off your cell phones, unplug the batteries, and take note of every word I say next. Li Jianxing said. No one asked why. They were all temporary commissioners of the executive department now. The first thing they had to do was to obey orders instead of arguing. The lights in the conference room dimmed, and Li Jianxing pulled down a projection screen and started the projector. Is there anyone who is afraid of blood? If so, it's best to close your eyes. The conference room was silent. Very good, then let's get started. The dark red light suddenly filled the entire conference room, and a bloody scene appeared in front of the students. The B-level commissioner of the executive department, Simmons Les, was found dead in the women's restroom on the 5th floor of the inpatient department of the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital at 3:46 yesterday morning. The primary witness was a night nurse. When she was patrolling the ward, she heard a sound in the women's restroom, so she rushed to check, and saw this scene. She is currently receiving hypnosis treatment from Professor Masashi Toyama. The headless body nailed to the wall was bloody and covered with knife wounds, and almost no part was intact. Head, where's his head? A student raised his hand and asked in a trembling voice. Unfortunately, we only found an eyeball and some skull fragments in the toilet sewer. Li Jianxing said. As soon as he said this, several female students immediately bent over and covered their mouths to retch. The other students were also pale and terrified. The murderer's brutality was beyond their imagination. It has completely become an alien. Caesar heard Mingfei whisper beside him. Yes, purify it directly. He heard Shuzaham say this again. This is a revenge for Castle College, and it is also a declaration of war. Li Jinxing switched the PPT screen, and everyone saw the bloody half-rotten World Tree School emblem nailed to the wall. Switching again, the screen was given to the ceiling, and the two words Avenge and Crady written in blood were clearly visible. Crady Brand, a B-level fallen hybrid. A few months ago, he tried to use nearly 100 innocent citizens as dark alchemy experiments in Asia, but was stopped in time and killed on the spot. During the cleaning process, the Academy discovered that he mastered a vicious dark alchemy. Combined with the word revenge, the one who attacked Commissioner Simmons may be the hybrid forces behind Crady Brand. Everyone, congratulations on your first encounter with the butcher's knife from your own kind when you step into the Dragon Clan battlefield. Li Jinxing said. However, no student could laugh. They finally realized that this war practice class was not a picnic, but a battlefield where people would really die. Who killed him? Do you have any specific information? In a dull atmosphere, a student raised his hand and asked in a trembling voice. Very good question. Li Jinxing switched the PPT screen on the screen. The student's eyes were immediately attracted by the weird picture. Dense bloody handprints and footprints covered the walls and the ground, about the size of a baby's palm. But unfortunately, this is the only clue left at the scene. What about the surveillance camera? Didn't it find anything? Caesar asked, and then raised his hand belatedly. No, between 2 and 4 inches the morning, no one else entered the crime scene except Commissioner Simmons who rushed in. Li Jinxing said. The atmosphere in the conference room became dull and depressing again. Then I will start to talk about the task of this war practice class. Li Jinxing ignored the dead air here and held the meeting to the final stage. The PPT on the screen behind him was jumping, and a small black metal bottle appeared in front of everyone. Mingfei frowned. He had seen this small bottle before. The heretic named Clay tried to fight him with this thing at the time, but he broke his head. I can't disclose what this alchemical item is. But I can tell you that this is something that the hostile hybrid organization wants to recover. In other words, it's a bait. We need someone to take this bait to lure the Python to show up. Li Jinxing glanced at everyone. Many students took a deep breath. This was simply sending themselves to death. The half-blood enemy who could kill the B-level specialist of the executive department into such a state might be a level or even S-level. Asking these students to take on this task was no different from sending themselves to death. You're right. This is a very dangerous task. I don't want the person holding the bait to be swallowed by the Python. Li Jinxing said, the first place in the cold weapon practical course and the precision shooting course, please stand up. The conference room was quiet for a while, and 3 people stood up quickly. In addition to a sophomore student, the remaining 2 were Shuzaham and Caesar. When everyone was waiting for Li Jinxing to choose who to assign such a dangerous task, Li Jinxing suddenly looked at the student between Shuzaham and Caesar and asked, why don't you stand up, S-level student Mingfei? I'm not the first in the course you were talking about. Mingfei thought the question was a bit strange. Why are you not the first? Li Jinxing asked back. Because I've never taken these classes. Mingfei spread his hands and answered truthfully. The low laughter temporarily eased the dullness and tension in the meeting room. Even Li Jinxing shook his head helplessly and laughed. Minister Schneider never mentioned this to me. Okay, the 3 of you sit down first. I'm sorry, I still want to be more fair and just. His expression became solemn, and he said in a deep voice, S-level student Mingfei, the babe mission is in your charge. This is the order of Minister Schneider. After all, you killed Clay Brand with your own hands. You are the most suitable person. Thank you for the 5,000 reward support from the elegant big cabbage boss. Thank you. Thanks to Shui Oijin, Jiezhu, Gaodong Biao Zhang, Yuzong Chen Mishu Hai, Su Senior, Shia 2, 0, 2, 2, 0, 9, 0, 3, 0, 9, 4, 0, 4, 4, 2, 0, 7, Yai Tao Jianzhen, Song Wan Chai, Shia 2, 0, 1, 8, 0, 7, 0, 4, 2, 2, 2, 7, 0, 0, 9, 3, 1, Shia 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 8, 2, 5, 0, 8, 1, 2, 1, 4, 9, 7, 6, and the time that never passes, all the angels who told Death for their support. Thanks to all the loyal Astates for their monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. I originally wanted to add 3 more chapters, but I got stuck for a long time in the morning. Anyway, I still owe you 4 more chapters, and I will try my best to make up for it. There are still 2 hours to eat cake. Chapter 37 Bait. Li Jingxing's words were undoubtedly a heavy bomb, exploding in the hearts of dozens of temporary specialists in the conference room. There were many students who had a mentality of watching the fun and placed no on the exam board. When they heard the news, some people had not yet reacted. He killed a B-level fallen hybrid before entering the school. He seemed to be only 16 years old. Is this the reason why their principal rated him as S-level? It's a pity that their mobile phones are now turned off, otherwise they would definitely break the news on the Night Watcher forum. Tell me, S-level. If you encounter an unknown murderer and a battle breaks out, how long do you think you can last under the opponent's hands? 10 seconds? Or 20 seconds? Li Jingxing stared at Mingfei. I will purify him directly. Mingfei answered calmly. What does purification mean? Kill him. The conference room was silent for more than 10 seconds, and everyone's eyes were fixed on the calm boy behind that conference table. Then there was thunderous applause. It's not without reason that Minister Schneider designated you to go fishing. Li Jingxing applauded and laughed. According to the log of the executive department, Commissioner Sivers was investigating a case of lost babies at the time. He found some clues that led him to this hospital. That is to say, the hybrid forces that attacked him are likely lurking inside the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital. Shuzaham raised his hand. Then why not clear the hospital and search it directly? As the best infant and gynecological hospital in Chicago, it is not only quite difficult to clear the hospital in a short period of time, but it will also cause unnecessary public opinion and panic. What if those hybrids take innocent people as hostages? Caesar asked while raising his hand. This is the meaning of the bait. According to the analysis and judgment of the psychological specialist of the tactical department, the hybrids of the organization lurking here are likely to have fallen. After discovering the badge of Castle College on Sivers, rage and killing devoured the murderer's reason, so he attacked Commissioner Sivers on the spot and left her work to declare war on us for revenge. It's quite stupid behavior, just like a thief leaving stolen goods at the door of his own home. Caesar commented. Yes, after realizing this, they have started to hide again. What we have to do is to make them lose their minds again and show up actively, while being attracted by the bait and trying to avoid harming innocent people. All the temporary specialists' eyes fell on Mingfei again. This means that the probability of this S-level encountering a battle will increase from 99% to 1000%. It seems that I don't need to take off this badge. Mingfei just lowered his head and glanced at the half-rotten World Tree School badge on the chest of his school uniform. A moment later, applause rang out again like thunder. 52 temporary specialists were divided into 4 groups and joined the team of formal specialists. Logistics team, surveillance team, camouflage team and fishhook. The logistics team is responsible for transporting the materials needed for the control mission, most of which are food and weapons. Although they may be as busy as porters, they are safer and the probability of encountering the enemy head-on is not high. The surveillance team is responsible for monitoring all situations around the hospital floor. Some people sit in the hospital monitoring room and stare at dozens of cameras. They are equivalent to the eyes that control everything in this mission. But the enemy in the dark also knows this and is likely to attack them, which is dangerous. The members of the camouflage team will hide in the crowd of people in the hospital to monitor the situation, and maintain order and fight in case of emergencies, which is a high risk. Fishhook, as the name suggests, the members who act as fishhook will bite the bait to lure unknown enemies to appear, and then they need to ensure that they will not be swallowed by sharks along with the bait. This is the most dangerous position in the entire mission, with a 1000% chance of fighting. It is appointed by Mingfei, the director of the executive department. As a companion, I will try my best to help you find the enemy, S-level. Caesar patted Mingfei's shoulder gently, and his handsome face like a Greek sculpture still had a bright smile. He was assigned to the camouflage team and will hide in the crowd to monitor the situation. This is quite in line with his strengths, abnormally strong hearing and the outstanding performance of shooting bullets with dual-wielding Desert Eagles within the 8th ring. Shuzaham was also assigned to the camouflage team. He just whispered "Be careful" to Mingfei and turned around to leave the meeting room with other temporary specialists. You don't seem to be worried about your brother. Caesar's deep blue eyes stared at Shuzaham, who was walking side by side with him. We just need to make sure he doesn't worry. Shuzham said expressionlessly. As the temporary specialists left, only Lu Mingfei and Li Jinxing were left in the conference room. Anything else you want to tell me? Lu Mingfei asked. Of course. This is the bait. Li Jinxing picked up the suitcase under the curtain, walked to Lu Mingfei and opened it. A small black metal bottle with fine silver patterns lay quietly in the box, and the bottle cap was sealed with several layers of craft paper. What's in it? Lu Mingfei reached out and took out the black bottle. It was originally called corrupted blood. Any creature that came into contact with it, including hybrids, would be contaminated and directly degenerate into a dead pool who only knew how to kill. At the request of the principal, this extremely dangerous alchemical substance was completely destroyed. Now the bottle contains his blood. Li Jinxing introduced. Can his blood also corrupt people? Lu Mingfei looked strange. For corrupt hybrids and Deadpool, the blood of hybrids with high dragon blood can make them pounce like sharks smelling blood. This is the second bait for when the situation is completely chaotic. You sprinkle it out, and all the corrupt hybrids will pounce on you. Before Li Jinxing finished speaking, Lu Mingfei interrupted him. Then I take this bottle of blood and run to the roof, then kill all the aliens that come up, right? Well, then the headlines of the news all over the United States tomorrow will be aliens occupy Chicago hospital. Li Jinxing wiped his sweat. The S-level student in front of him was even crazier than he thought. Oh, I forgot that you can't let mortals know that there are aliens. Lu Mingfei was a little unhappy. Purifying a few aliens still had to be restrained. If it were in the battle group, the aliens would have been killed twice by now. What kind of long-range weapons do you usually use? Clock or cold? I'll prepare some for you. Bomb gun. Bomb? Li Jinxing was stunned, trying to search for information about the bolt gun in his mind. Then, what about melee weapons? Dagger. Oh, Chains word. You don't have to prepare any, I have my own. Lu Mingfei picked up the 2 silver suitcases on the ground. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 38 Expectant Mother, Chicago, Sacred Heart Maria Hospital. The specialists of the executive department of Castle College blended into the hospital silently. It was like installing all kinds of brand new components and shiny gears on an old machine, making it start to run tightly. The people in the hospital did not know that they were already under the wings of the Black Owl. Everything seemed to be the same as usual. The lobby was crowded with people. The registration line was lined up at the door. There were girls with unnatural faces, pregnant women with bulging stomachs supported by their families, and mothers holding crying children. The LCD screens hanging on the walls of the corridors played advertisements for milk powder and diapers, and occasionally inserted 2 pieces of parenting knowledge. People seemed to be completely unaware of the bloody and brutal murder that happened in the hospital the day before yesterday. Only a few patients knew that the nurse seemed to have seen something horrible in the women's bathroom in the early morning of that day and screamed loudly, and then the Chicago Police Department rushed them from the ward on the 5th floor to other floors. After cordoning off the entire 5th floor with dense cordons, the police evacuated the hospital overnight, as if nothing had happened. However, such a strange thing developed into a bizarre and terrifying supernatural direction as people spread it. For example, some said that the nurse saw a demon in the women's bathroom, and some said that room 1309 on the 13th floor of the hospital's inpatient department is also that top room of the hospital. The light of the setting sun sprinkled on the distant Lake Michigan, and the lake surface sparkled, giving the entire ward a layer of red and yellow halo. The young woman looked at the boy sitting on the bed next to her curiously. The boy was very handsome, with slightly drooping eyes, and his black eyelashes were dyed like red by the sunset on the lake, and his face was indifferently calm. For some reason, the woman felt inexplicably relieved after seeing this pensive boy, and the anxiety during childbirth and physical abnormalities all disappeared. My child should be as well-mannered as him when he grows up, right? Maybe being a writer would be nice, too. The woman stroked her bulging belly with a happy smile on her face. The room was very quiet, so quiet that you could hear the sound of waves crashing on the shore of Lake Michigan. Why is there a pregnant woman in an S-class ward? It's too dangerous for her. The temporary operations center of the executive department was arranged in the monitoring room of the hospital. At the same time, it also served as the eyes of the monitoring team, staring at dozens of large and small surveillance video screens on the wall. There is no way. After the entire 5th floor was blocked, the hospital's inpatient wards were not enough. Today, there are several pregnant women who need to stay in the hospital for observation, so we forced one in. Li Jianxing, the deputy commander of this mission, was a little helpless. Are you sure you don't want to ask Minister Schneider? Does he have any objection? A specialist who monitors the floor raised his hand and asked. I asked, and the director said it's okay, S-level will solve it. This is a pregnant mother, if something happens, it's a whole family, why don't you ask the director? I'll take your place. Li Jianxing raised his eyebrows. I'll just pretend I didn't say anything. The specialist shut up obediently. Notify everyone must be alert, the enemy may launch an attack on S-level tonight. After calming down, Li Jianxing said in a deep voice. Understood. 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 Caesar pressed the headset and responded in a low voice. His current identity is a male caregiver, although from a professional point of view, he is not very suitable for this identity now. But his handsome and sunny image and gentlemanly and polite words soon made him a friend of the women on the 10th floor of the inpatient department. Understood. Shuzaham pressed the headset lightly and continued to scrub the floor with the mop. There was also a mop with a thick black handle tied with tape and newspaper in his bucket. All regular and temporary specialists responded to the operations center. But Lu Mingfei was an exception. He was only wearing a thin hospital gown, with nothing else except a short dagger stuck in his waist. Hello, are you Chinese? My name is Jing Xiaxiu. The young expectant mother saw Lu Mingfei finished his contemplation and opened his eyes, and smiled and greeted him. Hello, my name is Lu Mingfei. Lu Mingfei also smiled out of respect for his mother. It's great, I didn't expect to see a fellow countryman here. Jing Xiaxiu's eyes sparkled. Yeah, me too. Lu Mingfei was very unhappy, he knew very well what he was doing in this ward. Why did the people from the college arrange for a pregnant woman to come in? If he could contact the combat center, he would scold them without hesitation and take over the command himself. By the way, the people who need to be hospitalized are all girls. Why are you a boy hospitalized here? Are you feeling unwell in any part of your body? I can recommend you a new professional hospital, Jing Xiaxiu asked with concern. It's okay, just a little mental problem, I will be discharged in a few days, thank you for your concern. Lu Mingfei smiled and thanked Jing Xiaxiu for her kindness. How old are you? How come you have mental trauma? Young people should be more open-minded. When I was your age, many boys were around me. Do you have a girl you like? In fact, you can find a girlfriend at your age, but Jing Xiaxiu seemed to have opened a chatterbox and chatted with him. The woman looked only in her 20s, and even without makeup, she was a standard beauty. Isn't your family with you? Lu Mingfei asked, and saw the fruit basket on Jing Xiaxiu's bedside table. They should be driving here at this time, right? He said he is a little busy during this period and will try to squeeze out time to accompany me. It's really unlucky. Why did I marry a workaholic? Although Jing Xiaxiu was complaining, her beautiful face was filled with a happy smile. The bright moon rose in the sky, the night fell, and the stars were twinkling. Caesar, the blonde, busty male nurse, brought dinner to Lu Mingfei and Jing Xiaxiu, all of which were light and nourishing Chinese dishes. Wow, this hospital is so considerate, they even prepared hometown dishes. Jing Xiaxiu's beautiful eyes sparkled. Lu Mingfei became more alert, as there was a pregnant woman in the room. If an alien attack really happened at this time, he was not sure if he could still protect Jing Xiaxiu. Why don't you eat, Jielu? The young expectant mother read with gusto. You eat first, Sister Xiaxiu, I'll find someone to change your ward after you finish eating. It will be inconvenient for you to be here. Lu Mingfei said. I don't mind, why do you mind? Jing Xiaxiu pouted, like a little girl in a bad temper. You're not really planning to eat in the toilet, are you? The blonde busty male nurse handed the lunchbox to the black-haired cold-faced cleaner. Let's go, eat at the stairs. No, I'll eat here. Shuzaham opened the lunchbox expressionlessly and started eating by the sink. Did you find anything unusual? Caesar also wanted to pick up the lunchbox and chat with his competitor while eating, but he glanced at the environment in the toilet and finally gave up the idea. No suspicious people have been found so far. Shuzaham said. I guess we'll have to stay up all night tonight. Caesar subconsciously touched his chest and wanted to take out a cigar, but then he realized that he was not the young master of the Gattuso family. He smiled and lowered his hands. Suddenly, the smile on his face froze. The sound, I seemed to hear something crawling above our heads. Chapter 39 The beginning of chaos. Shusaham put down his lunchbox and tried his best to create a quiet environment for Caesar. As Caesar's competitor, Shusaham knew how sensitive and powerful his hearing was. It was probably due to the hidden changes that the world spirit brought to the body's senses. Yes, there are indeed things, there are 5 of them, very small, holding things in their hands, crawling at a very fast speed, the sound of metal collision, those things are holding knives. They are climbing up, to the 12th floor. Caesar's expression changed, and he immediately pressed the headset to notify the operations center. Operations center. I heard some movement. Something has climbed to the 12th floor. Immediately call up all the surveillance images of the 12th floor. The specialists on the 12th floor are ready for battle, and the specialists on the 11th floor are going to support and guard the staircases. The specialists on the other floors slowly move up, don't cause too much panic, and be ready to evacuate at any time. After receiving Caesar's report, Li Jinxing did not hesitate and immediately made personnel adjustments. The specialists took action nervously, and the caregivers, cleaners, and patients all quietly left their posts during the seemingly peaceful dinner time. Ward 1309. I feel a little uncomfortable, I seem to have eaten too much. Jing Xiaoxiu rubbed her belly and smiled a little embarrassed. Well, let's rest for a while. Lu Mingfei said softly. He could keenly hear the footsteps coming from downstairs, and he was alert in his heart, ready to draw his sword at any time. I feel like I haven't eaten such delicious food for a long time. Jing Xiaoxiu lay on the bed, staring at the incandescent light on the ceiling, and said leisurely. Well. Lu Mingfei was absent-minded. After dinner, he asked the college specialist disguised as a nurse on the 13th floor to immediately arrange for someone to send the pregnant woman out. But as of now, it doesn't seem to be going very smoothly. Actually, I'm lucky. I came to the Pacific Ocean. Although I didn't find a good job, at least I found a good husband. When the child is born, I can get an American citizenship. By the way, Xiu, you came here to go to college, right? Jing Xiaoxiu chatted with Lu Mingfei again, and fine bead of sweat oozed out of her smooth forehead. Yeah, the University of Chicago. I've heard of this university. It's amazing that you can get into such a prestigious university at such a young age. Take a good rest for a few days, don't always think about those things, study hard. Chicago seems to have some talent subsidy, foreign outstanding high-achieving students can directly get green cards. Now many people come here to give birth to children, isn't it just to get American citizenship? On the 12th floor, the specialists who were ready for battle waited for nearly 10 minutes and failed to find anything unusual. No abnormal or suspicious situation was found. In the monitoring center, several monitoring specialists quickly switched back and forth between the various monitoring screens, trying to find something suspicious. But nothing was found. Is the information of Commissioner Caesar wrong? Someone raised a question in a low voice. No, I have read his information, and I trust his hearing. Li Jinxing said in a deep voice. The things that Commissioner Caesar heard may be hiding in some corners of the 12th floor. What should we do? Take the initiative. We must try to avoid casualties among ordinary people. A specialist asked. Notify the head of the logistics team and start evacuation plan B. Li Jinxing ordered. The S-level is urging the pregnant woman in his room to leave immediately. A specialist reported. Got it. I'll arrange for someone to go up and take her to evacuate together. About 10 minutes later, a truck drove to the downstairs of the inpatient department. The compartment opened, and more than a dozen black-clad staff rushed to unload batches of supplies from the truck. From Mead Johnson milk powder, Pampers diapers and other infant products to Channel lipsticks, Lancome perfume and other high-end female cosmetics, everything was available. Then they quickly arranged them and shouted loudly like vendors with loudspeakers. Free, free, free. Great benefits for hospitalization of Sacred Heart Maria. Don't miss it, beauties and mothers upstairs, branded milk powder and diapers are free. And Channel's latest lipsticks of various colors, each person can get a box for free. Such a commotion naturally attracted the attention of the female patients in the inpatient department. They looked out the window curiously at the truck full of various items downstairs, and finally, under the temptation of free brand name goods, they all went downstairs. Even many pregnant mothers were supported by their families or nurses to get some free milk powder and diapers. The building of the impatient department suddenly became much emptier. Without the influence of a lot of noisy sounds, Caesar's hearing to detect abnormal movements became clearer and more acute. He walked quietly in the quiet corridor on the 12th floor, searching for traces of the things he had heard before. Shoesham followed him, holding a black-handled mop and ready to fight. Suddenly, Caesar stopped. His deep blue eyes swept to the ward on the left. The number on the room door plate was 1208. Operation Center, this is Caesar Gattuso. We may have found the enemy. He pressed the headset and lowered the voice to the lowest level. Received, action control is allowed, and live ammunition is allowed. Li Jingxing's instructions were transmitted back to the headset. Understood. Caesar replied in a low voice, and 2 silver Desert Eagle pistols appeared in his hands. The one on the left was loaded with the Academy's special frigate bullet, a non-lethal bullet that would vaporize and inject anesthetics after hitting the target. The one on the right was loaded with .50 Action Express bullets, a large-caliber bullet of 12.7 mm. The strong body of non-hybrids could not suppress this wrist dislocator at all. Shoesham tore off the disguise on the mop, revealing the black scabbard of Nurazim. The two looked at each other and gently pushed open the door of room 1208. The ward was empty, the bedding on the bed was a little messy, and the water in the cup on the bedside table was still steaming. Wow! But at this moment, a sharp and piercing cry suddenly came from upstairs. Caesar, who had been concentrating on listening to the sound, was startled by the cry, as if someone was holding a gun and suddenly knocking on his ears while he was sleeping, shaking his head. Damn it! He cursed in a low voice and tried to wake up. But the crying soon stopped, and was replaced by the sound of a heavy object hitting the ground violently like a sledgehammer. Something happened on the 13th floor. Caesar and Shoesham did not rush to the 13th floor immediately, but reported the situation to the combat center first. Now they are in a group, and it is not time to engage in personal heroism. But everything happened quite tightly, as if it had been arranged by an invisible big hand. The loudspeakers on all floors of the impatient department were turned on at the same time, and a rustling monotonous clapper sound was heard. Dear battle brothers, do not be corrupted by porn, do not quarrel, do not quarrel, do not quarrel. Chapter 40. The angel announces death. Are you feeling unwell? Mingfei asked softly. Up to now, no college specialist has come to take Jing Xiaxiu away. Instead, Jing Xiaxiu's face has become paler and paler, and a bead of sweat as big as beans keep oozing from her smooth forehead. It's okay, it just hurts a little, he kicked me again. Jing Xiaxiu said with a forced smile. By the way, is there anything wrong? I heard hurried footsteps outside. What is the speaker saying outside? I don't understand English very well, I'll call a doctor for you. Mingfei noticed the young woman's strangeness and stood up and walked out the door. Don't go, please don't go. Jing Xiaxiu begged, her body trembling. Just talk to me, just for a while. I feel that only by your side, I can get a little peace, please. Tears kept falling from her face, and it was hard to tell whether her expression was pain or sadness. Mingfei frowned, but he still listened to Jing Xiaxiu's words and returned to her bedside. His palm quietly touched the short dagger at his waist. Thank you so much, Xiu. Jing Xiaxiu's expression eased, as if she really got a bit of peace from Mingfei. Then it froze. Brother, you have become indecisive. Someone whispered. Luming's, wearing a black suit, appeared. He leaned against the windowsill, staring at the brightly lit Chicago in the distance, which formed a sharp contrast with the dark Lake Michigan in the distance. Since that exam, this weird little devil has not appeared for a while. If you kill her now, maybe she can suffer less. Luming's turned around, with a cruel smile on his delicate little face. Shut up, devil. I don't kill humans. I only kill aliens and heretics, and filth like you. Mingfei said coldly. What's the difference? Aren't these labels all put on you? Luming's walked over with a smile, and a faint golden light flashed in his eyes. Just like the dragons are aliens in your mouth, and Odeon is a false god in your eyes, yes, this is right, I agree. I'm a devil in your eyes, then she. Luming's white-gloved hands gently unbuttoned Jing Xiaxiu's clothes. Mingfei immediately drew a dagger from his waist, trying to stop the little devil's blasphemous behavior. But the blade suddenly stopped when it was about to touch the little devil's temple. He saw a strange flower bud on Jing Xiaxiu's pregnant belly with black lines and scarlet blood vessels. Snap. Luming's ignored the blade hovering at his temple and snapped his fingers lightly. Jing Xiaoxiu's pregnant belly lit up with a faint red light, revealing the dark shadow hidden under the sinful flower bud. It was obviously not a human child. It was not curled up and sleeping quietly in its mother's womb, but was hunting like a ferocious predator. Mingfei could even see its bean-sized golden eyes, as if it was about to tear open the mother's pregnant belly and rush out. His breathing suddenly became heavy. He was not afraid or shocked. He had seen more blasphemous and inhumane evil rituals of summoning filth during the expedition. No wonder Jing Xiaoxiu had been pale and tortured by pain since just now. It turned out that the child in her belly was not the child she imagined. Then she is a heretic, right? She is pregnant with an alien. Lumens looked at Mingfei with a playful look, wanting to see what kind of expression would appear on his face. Who did this? Mingfei took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. He could not have imagined that in this peaceful hometown, there were also evil heretics who could do such blasphemous and brutal acts on pregnant women. Anyway, it's not me. They are targeting you, brother. Lumens snapped his fingers again, and the light in Jing Xiaoxiu's pregnant belly went out, and the shadow hid again. Only the evil flower bud was left slowly turning. When it blooms, the brutal black shadow will surely tear out of the sinful pistil and sacrifice the mother's life for its birth. Brother, if you kill her now, she can suffer less pain. Don't hesitate, you're a ruthless fanatic. Any enemy of mankind will be purified under the glory of the great emperor. Lumens urged with a smile. Shut up, devil. Mingfei retracted the hovering dagger and stared at the strange flower bud on Jing Xiaoxiu's pregnant belly. After a moment, he reached out and buttoned her hospital gown one by one, and gently covered her with a quilt. You are my brother, you are the biggest, but I just said that you have become soft-hearted. Lumens sighed. When he finished speaking, time resumed its flow. Although Jing Xiaoxiu's face was pale, her bright eyes still stared at Mingfei. Xiao, I feel like you are an angel, but we Chinese shouldn't believe in this. Mingfei could feel the pain that Jing Xiaoxiu was suffering from when she grabbed his hand. She didn't dare to let go, just like a drowning person grabbing the only life-saving straw. My head started to hurt. I suddenly had a feeling that everything I knew in my mind was fake. It's like a beautiful piece of carved glass, with cracks appearing one after another, and then the fragments kept falling down. Finally, the fragments fell, and the darkness behind that glass surged again. She began to cry again, and crystal tears kept flowing down her face from her empty eyes full of bloodshot. Her body was stiff and arched, and only her swollen belly was shaking under the quilt. I remembered Jiu. I don't have a husband at all. I was kidnapped here. They injected me, drew on me. Ugh. The young woman finally couldn't stand the pain anymore. Her eyes were filled with blood and she howled in pain. May the Emperor protect your soul, he whispered, tightening the blade in his hand. Just as Lumens said, he did hesitate. The human emotions that had not been castrated on a large scale and the original intention of protecting humans that had always existed in his heart made Mingfei unable to kill this human woman. He gently pressed his palm on Jing Xiaoxiu's pregnant belly and sang an unknown mysterious ballad in a low voice. The woman's pain seemed to be relieved a lot, and the blood in her eyes gradually faded. Her memory of being hypnotized was mixed with her memory before being hypnotized, and she began to speak contradictory nonsense. Xiao, am I going to die? My husband is very good to me. I seem to have escaped by myself. If you can, please help me take good care of the child, okay? Okay. Mingfei responded in a deep voice, and the edge of the blade emerged from the dark part of his body. Poor woman, she still doesn't know what's in her belly. Lumens' whisper came to his ears. Give you a little help, my brother, an angel who loves humans but only deprives them of their lives. Just think of it as the devil's second friendly gift to gain the angel's trust. Replacement. The high syllables burst out, as if ordering the whole world. Jing Xiaoxiu's swollen belly suddenly collapsed. The evil baby, who had not yet tasted the mother's life, suddenly appeared in the air with the accompanying amniotic fluid and dirty blood. Then he was grabbed by the back of the neck by Mingfei's swift palm. It let out a shrill cry that didn't sound like a human baby's cry. Its dark golden eyes were staring at Mingfei intently, and its fine and tight fangs were clearly visible. The nails on its stubby little hands were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye, becoming as sharp as a knife. But Mingfei didn't give the little alien a chance to cry a second time. His other hand, which still had the residual warmth of its mother, thrust the dagger into its mouth, and the blade pierced through the back of its head. That was probably the softest part of the little alien's body, not as tightly protected by black scales as the body. It was nailed to the floor by the residual force of the dagger, and before it could struggle, the shadow of Mingfei holding the safe under the incandescent light had already covered it. Bang! 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 The metal safe was swung down by Mingfei like a heavy hammer, and the black little alien quickly became a bloody mess under the violent blow, and the filthy life was purified. What a beautiful move, brother, the little devil smiled and clapped his hands, but before he could finish his words, his figure suddenly disappeared. The lingering sound of lumens in the air was replaced by the sudden sound of a clapper. Crisp, empty, and monotonous. The sound of the clapper had no melody, and every strike seemed to resonate with the air, from the eardrum to the skull, and then to the depths of the brain, causing a trembling resonance. Mingfei's breathing suddenly became rapid, and his heart seemed to have turned into a beating war drum along with the sound of the clapper, beating his heart madly. At the same time, his brain seemed to be cut by several sharp knives, and severe pain kept coming. But soon, his eyes, which had been closed because of the severe pain, opened again. The violent waves had subsided, and the golden lava flowed quietly. 0717. Mingfei steadily entered the password on the safe padded with black meat. The safe opened with a click, and he reached out and took out the rough, heavy, cold gun that lay quietly inside. Then he turned around and pulled the trigger, firing violently. Bang! 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 The blazing flames temporarily overshadowed the incandescent lights in the room. The bodies of several short aliens holding sharp knives that rushed towards Mingfei paused in mid-air. The sound of explosives and flesh bursting followed closely, and their blasphemous and dirty bodies bloomed black flesh and blood flowers on the wall. Mingfei looked indifferent and stuck the 5 thick magazines in the safe under his waist. Finally, he took out the chainsaw sword that was as red as a flame. He glanced at Jiang Xiaoxiu. The woman had fainted. But at least now she has gained a brief peace. Brother, that's it, Lumens's whisper rang in Mingfei's ears. As an angel who deprives life, you declare the death of the abominable alien. Chapter 41. Angels turn the tide. The inpatient building of the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital seemed to have been dragged into hell by Satan. The horrible cry of the baby sounded like a wave, sweeping the entire building. The women downstairs who were originally happily receiving milk powder and lipstick became extremely terrified and retreated in fear. It's a demon. It's the demon who kill people at night. They are coming. The stories about demons circulating in the hospital suddenly turned from idle talk to reality. Patients and carer divers fled one after another, leaving only the nervous logistics specialists. They kept contacting the operations center, but never received any response. There. Almost at the moment when the baby cried, Caesar's Desert Eagle loaded with frigate bullets opened fire first. The bullet left a clear mark on the ceiling. Shuzaham locked his eyes and raised his hand to throw the Murazame in his hand. With a shrill scream, a black short monster fell from the ventilation duct, and the blade of Murazame pierced its chest. Shuzaham strode out, holding the handle of the knife and cutting the monster's chest and head together. Damn, what is this thing? Caesar's breathing became a little rapid. It was the first time he saw such a monster. But from the light golden knives that fell out, this thing must be related to the Dragon Clan. Judging from the size, it should be a baby. It is the evil act of the group of heretics. Shuzaham grabbed the handle of Murazame's knife. His voice became low, suppressing his anger. Professor Manstein had told him and Mingfei about the information of dark alchemy, and immediately guessed the source of these little monsters. Babies, these inhumane lunatics, fuck. Caesar was not a fool. Even the noble son of the Gattuso family, who had always been highly cultured, couldn't help but curse in a low voice at this time. There was no time to sigh at the promotion of Chinese education in Castle College to the quintessence of the country. Deafening gunshots had already sounded upstairs. A battle had already broken out on Mingfei's side. Operations Center. Please reply if you receive it. Caesar called the operations center, but there was no response from the other side of the headset. The communication has been cut off. This monster's lurking ability is too strong. The combat center must have been attacked. I suggest that we go downstairs to rescue and reunite with other commissioners. Caesar said in a deep voice. I suggest that we reunite with Mingfei first. Shuzaham made his own suggestion. Why are you? Caesar was about to ask a question, but the tense sound of footsteps running on the ceiling made the two of them look nervous. Get out first, go. Several small black monsters jumped out from the gap in the ceiling, like swift and bloodthirsty cats. They held sharp knives in their hands, and their ferocious faces reminded Caesar of the movie Chucky the Doll. Was the commissioner of the executive department killed by this thing? Bang 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 bang. Caesar fired the Desert Eagle loaded with .508 bullets, and the terrible kinetic energy of 2,200 joules accurately blew the heads of the dolls. 9 rounds. Caesar shook his aching wrist slightly, and after silently counting the number of bullets in the magazine, a faint golden light flashed in his deep blue eyes. High-pitched syllables burst out from his throat, and the grand chanting even covered the crying for a while. Seeing this, Shusaham immediately stepped closer to Caesar, and Murazame's blade accurately cut the heads of 2 ghost dolls in mid-air. Sequence 59, Word Spirit. Kamei-Tachi. A field with a radius of 20 meters with Caesar as the center was unfolded. All sounds in this field were captured by Caesar, and a radar was formed in his mind in the form of a 3-dimensional model. However, this time it was more troublesome to build a radar map than usual, and the crying and clatter sounds that Caesar could hear were also amplified dozens of times. His brain was running at high speed, trying to ignore the noise and capture the sound of the ghost dolls running. In this way, he could be the first to blast the other party in midair before the ghost dolls sent the sharp knives into his head with amazing agility. Bang, bang, bang. 6 ghost dolls pounced down, and Caesar and Shusaham faced them back to back. 4 of them were shot through the head by Caesar's Desert Eagle, and the remaining 2 were killed by Shusaham with a continuous sword technique of stabbing and cutting with a knife. I still have 5 live bullets left, and Dictagio is not on me. At present, there are at least nearly 30 Chuckies above our heads, so it's best to unify the strategy. Caesar said to the competitor who was close behind him. In the 3 months of enrollment, he had always wanted to challenge Mingfei, but he had never seen Mingfei in the relevant practical courses. Shusaham, who often went in and out with Mingfei, became his choice for challenge. Facts have proved that Shusaham is indeed a very challenging opponent. In the initial confrontation, Caesar was still in an advantage in both shooting and cold weapon courses. But before long, Shusaham's swordsmanship changed from a hobby training in the children's palace to an artistic skill that deprives life. Not only did he suppress him severely, but he even defeated several senior brothers in the kendo department during a class taught by the principal himself. Now the 2 are tied for first place in the precision shooting class and cold weapon practical class. If they really fight, it will be hard to tell who is better. To use the words of a famous boxing school in southern China, I am fast outside 7 steps, and he is fast within 7 steps. Meet up with Mingfei first, and then we will formulate a detailed strategy. Shusaham's thoughts remain unchanged. Another round of attacks by the ghost dolls has come in, and the sickle weasel has locked their positions before they pounce. Caesar fired 5 shots in that direction without even looking, and the last 5.508 bullets pierced the heads of the 5 ghost dolls. I have heard his position, he has gone down to the 12th floor. But the problem is that 70% of the Chuckies are rushing to him, and we are only dealing with 30 who accidentally saw us. Caesar said. Then we should support him even more. Shusaham said, and instantly kicked open the door of room 1208. Outside the door, explosions and roars resounded throughout the corridor. Mingfei's hospital gown was already stained with the alien's black blood. He walked in the corridor expressionlessly, with golden lava flowing in his eyes. In his left hand, he held up the bolt pistol, which symbolized the Emperor's wrath. Every time he fired, 1 or even 2 small alien bodies would bloom in mid-air. The psychopaths in the equipment department had maximized the power of the bolt bomb with the blessing of existing technology and materials. For example, the mass reaction fuse was directly changed to a simple and crude proximity fuse. After contacting the target, the entire warhead exploded and split into dozens of deadly shrapnel to tear the target's body into pieces. Bang! 2 aliens broke out of the ward on the right, trying to use their agility to give Mingfei a fatal attack. But what greeted them was the roaring chainsaw sword. The high-speed rotating chain blade instantly split a small alien into 2, and black blood splashed everywhere. Then the other one was pierced straight through the chest by the fiery red chainsaw sword like a skewer of meat. This was a one-sided massacre. Each small alien died with a precise blow. Mingfei did not fire an extra shot or make any unnecessary movements. So much so that in the eyes of the pale-faced college specialist following behind him, those agile black monsters seemed to be rushing over and offering their lives to Mingfei. Thank you, briefed him, for your 5,000 reward support. Thank you. Thank you for the reward support of dozens of loyal angels. There are too many angels, and it would take me half a chapter to type them all out. I can only thank you all. Thank you for your support. And thank you to all the Astates for your monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Thank you. Chapter 42 Rage. The killing came to an end after the last alien was split in half by the chainsaw sword. The crying of babies and the disturbing sound of claps still lingered in the ears, and the gunshots and high-pitched chanting downstairs became more and more intense. But at least the people on the 12th floor had a brief peace at this moment. "Tell me about the battle, brother." Mingfei held the chainsaw sword and the grenade gun, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and simply performed the Sky Eagle salute to Shuzaham, who was rushing over, and spoke in a deep voice. "We have lost contact with the combat center, and we have not found any trace of the culprit's heretic yet." Shuzaham returned the Sky Eagle salute and answered with a serious look. After several months of cultivation, he had acted well to his identity as an Empire warrior and prayed and trained with Mingfei every day. Although he was very much looking forward to the superhuman warriors such as Astates that Mingfei told him, he also always kept in mind the belief that courage and fearlessness are not exclusive to Astates. "Then I will attract these aliens, and you lead the rescuers down," Mingfei said, and the hand holding the grenade gun took out a small black bottle with silver patterns from the pocket of the hospital gown stained with black blood. "I'll go with you. You can leave the rescue to Caesar," Shuzaham said. "Okay." Mingfei would not refuse his brother, who wanted to fight side by side with him. His bright golden eyes looked at Caesar. "Then I'll leave the rescue to you, Caesar. You were a very good leader. I'm afraid this is the only advantage I have in front of you. Don't worry, leave it to me, S-level." Even though he was hit hard in his heart, Caesar still smiled and maintained his demeanor and etiquette. He had always thought that Shuzaham was actually Mingfei's protector. Even though he learned that Mingfei had killed a B-level fallen hybrid before entering school, Caesar still had a trace of doubt in his heart. But in the killing that was as visually impactful as the weapon in his hand, this last trace of doubt was completely dispelled. There is a reason why Mingfei was rated as S-level by the principal. "Then please follow Commissioner Caesar and leave now." Mingfei looked back at the several college commissioners behind him. Regardless of whether they were temporary or formal, the expressions on their faces were full of awe from the bottom of their hearts. They immediately obeyed Mingfei's request and followed Caesar to the safe passage on the east side of the corridor. Mingfei and Shuzaham walked towards the elevator on the other side. "Didn't you bring a grenade launcher?" Mingfei asked. "No, it's not suitable for disguise." Shuzaham shook his head, "But I brought the magazine up, I think you can use it." He took off his cleaner's coat and took off the 5 thick black magazines tied around his waist. Mingfei raised his eyebrows. He really needed ammunition. In this way, the Emperor's wrath vented by the grenade launcher can purify the dirty aliens with the highest efficiency. "Thanks, brother." Mingfei replaced the new magazine with a full bullet for the grenade launcher in his hand, and inserted the rest into his waist, close to his skin. "That pregnant woman, how is she?" Shuzaham asked softly. He remembered that the pregnant woman who was temporarily sent to Mingfei's ward was mentioned in the communication channel before. "She is not dead yet. She was hypnotized by the heretics and thought she had a family. In fact, there was an alien stuffed in her stomach. Either the alien tore her body apart, or I killed it before it was torn apart," Mingfei said. "Then, is the alien still in her stomach?" "The alien is dead." "I hesitated and didn't kill it directly, then Mingfei got it out." Mingfei's voice became low. Shuzaham was stunned and didn't ask any more questions. They had already walked to the elevator at the west end of the corridor. The display board showed that the elevator stopped at the 4th floor. Mingfei handed the chainsaw sword to Shuzaham and pried open the closed elevator door with one hand. The cry of the baby echoed in the dark and deep elevator shaft, as if it was a passage to hell. Mingfei unscrewed the cap of the black bottle in his hand and poured the dark red blood into the elevator shaft. "What is this?" It contained a filthy creature that could pollute ordinary people and turn them into dead pools, but it has been destroyed. Now its principal Angie's blood. They say that the higher the blood level of a hybrid, the more it can attract aliens. I hope so. After Mingfei finished speaking, he threw the black bottle with silver patterns into the elevator shaft. The strange crying sound suddenly quieted down. Only the monotonous and empty sound of the clappers echoed in the hospital. The next second, even more terrifying screams and howls sounded. It seems that the principal's blood is very effective. If I hadn't lost the habit of drinking blood, I would really like to taste a few drops. Mingfei took back the chainsaw sword from Shuzaham, closed his eyes, and chanted softly. "God Emperor, please guide the pursuit. Your holy wrath will crush these deformed and twisted creations. Your unquestionable light will burn these filthy souls." The dense footsteps gathered into an astonishing wave. At this moment, I don't know how many aliens were attracted by the blood and were rushing towards the elevator shaft frantically. About 6 or 7 floors below, the elevator door had been broken. With the remaining light, Mingfei could see the crowded black shadows. And more black shadows came from the morgue on the first floor of the basement of the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital. One after another, the doors of the body compartments were pushed open from the inside, and short figures crawled out. Their dark golden eyes emitted a faint light in the darkness. If someone saw this scene in the morgue with their own eyes, they would definitely be scared to death. "What is your ability?" Mingfei asked softly. "If you mean the word spirit," Shuzaham took a deep breath, "I'm not quite sure. There is a commandment in the academy. I haven't released it myself. Every half-blood inherits their power from the bloodline of the dragon race, and the word spirit is the most unique one. In Castle Academy, the Vice Principal's word spirit commandment is combined with a special Mercury alchemy matrix to expand the field to the entire academy. Under the influence of the commandment, all dragon bloodliners with lower bloodline than the Vice Principal cannot use the power of the word spirit. Otherwise, the word spirit class in Castle Academy will become an unstable version of the Hogwarts magic class. No one knows whether a student will sing drowsy or Avata eating a big melon. Then do you think your word spirit is suitable for this environment?" Mingfei asked again. "Suitable," Shuzaham replied in a deep voice. "Then release it," Mingfei said, firing the grenade launcher in his hand fiercely at the elevator shaft. The blazing muzzle flames illuminated countless short aliens that were rapidly climbing up the well wall. Thanks to their number and density, the metal shrapnel ejected by the metal storm bomb after the explosion caused the greatest damage. Dozens of aliens that climbed up from the nearest floors of the 11th and 10th floors were blown to pieces and fell into the deep well. "Okay." Shuzaham nodded, took a step back slightly, and recited obscure syllables. These tongue-twisting dragon words seemed to be Shuzaham's innate talent. The low chanting soon turned into a loud and magnificent singing. The deafening dragon chanting directly covered the cries of the aliens in the elevator shaft. Mingfei felt the scorching heat rising from his back. He raised his eyebrows and stepped aside to prepare the best stage for his fighting brothers. Shuzaham's eyes lit up with a brilliant golden light, more blazing than ever before. He took a big step forward and recited the last syllable of the dragon word. A dazzling sun rose in the elevator shaft. It was obvious that Shuzaham's words were of the Avata's Big Melon level, serial no. 89, high-risk words. Jundian. The aliens cried again under this sudden rise of the sun, but then they were swallowed up by a bang. It was as if someone kicked over the furnace of the sun, and the extremely high-temperature flames fell down. The aliens didn't even have time to escape before they were swallowed by the flames and turned into pieces of black charcoal. The elevator cable had been melted, and the elevator bridge suspended on the 4th floor fell with the blazing fireball, like a flaming hammer, judging all the evil spirits who wanted to climb out of hell. The entire impatient building was instantly much quieter. But soon, the terrifying high temperature triggered the hospital's fire alarm system, the alarm bells rang, and the firefighting system on the top of the corridor began to sprinkle water. "Well done." Mingfei applauded, very happy that his brother had such power. Shuzaham's chest rose and fell violently, and his breathing was rapid. "Is it too much?" "No, as a warrior of the Emperor, I should give any evil enemy the most horrible death." Mingfei smiled. "Then, is it over?" Shuzaham tried his best to calm down the boiling blood in his body. He stretched his head and looked at the elevator shaft that was turned into a crematorium by his spiritual power. The air still had a pungent smell and hot residual temperature, as if all the aliens had been purified by his Junyan. "Maybe, but I'm afraid we have to start welcoming new guests, or enemies." The east elevator on the 12th floor, which was separated by a corridor of nearly 100 meters, suddenly started running. With the supernatural vision brought by the golden pupil, the bright red numbers on the display board were clearly reflected in Mingfei's eyes. 5, 6, 7, 8, the elevator was slowly rising, carrying unknown passengers. Finally, the bright red number on the display board froze at 12. The door slowly opened. Chapter 43 Tale of Donald. Mingfei and Shuzaham did not think that at this time, the specialists from the academy would take the elevator to support them slowly. The only possibility was that there were new enemies that needed to be purified. The elevator door and the compartment door slowly opened, and a man in a white coat walked out, pushing a wheelchair covered with a white cloth. He had a faint smile on his face, and his pair of light blue eyes stared at the two soldiers who were walking towards him. "Hello, both of you. Welcome to Sacred Heart Maria. I'm the attending physician here, Taylor Donald." The man smiled, greeted in fluent Chinese, and bowed politely to Lumenfei and Xu Zhehan. Then he raised his head and focused his eyes on Lumenfei. "You are the Lumenfei who killed Clay, right? First meeting. Do you like the gift I gave you?" "Gift?" Lumenfei frowned. "It's the woman named Jiang Xiaoxiu." The smile on Taylor's face did not change at all. But what responded to him was the roaring grenade launcher in Lumenfei's hand. Bang, bang, bang. 3 metal storm bombs flew in a shape towards the so-called attending physician. Since the other party claimed to be a heretic, there was no need to keep his life to obtain intelligence. Just let him repent under the wrath of the Emperor. But the wheelchair covered with white cloth that Taylor was pushing moved, and a figure suddenly jumped up and blocked the incoming bombs. The violent shrapnel tore the white cloth to pieces, revealing the true face of the figure. A small-eyed blue alien. It was different from the other black small aliens. It wore a snow-white Japanese no mask on its face. The iron blue scales that grew on its body were also quite strong. The bombs that could tear ordinary aliens to pieces did not hurt it too deeply, but only caused a few shallow wounds. "It's a pity that the sound didn't bother you. That woman swore to me that it could drive you crazy. But never mind, this is my second gift to you. Please accept it, Lumenfei." Taylor's manners were as elegant as a gentleman. He gently pressed the button of the instrument in his hand. Behind the iron blue alien, a set of instruments began to operate. The device tied with several containers began to pour the unknown black liquid into the alien's body. The alien's body changed rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, its size expanded by several circles. The ferocious and violent muscles made people lose the courage to fight it just by looking at it. The iron blue thick scales covered its whole body. In less than 10 seconds, the alien, which was just the size of a child, suddenly turned into a humanoid armor tank nearly 3 meters high. Boom! It charged towards Lumenfei and Xu Zhehan, and the whole floor trembled under its violent footsteps. Lumenfei had already replaced the magazine for the grenade gun. When he realized that the metal storm bomb might not be able to kill the alien, he immediately changed to the Red Lotus Galaxy spiral bomb, which was also produced by the equipment department, but was produced in small quantities and had only 1 magazine with a total of 8 rounds. Although Lumenfei felt that the name was a bit long, the equipment department boasted that it was quite suitable for the name, and its power could penetrate a tank. They increased the charge of the bomb, and in order to optimize the penetration against heavy units, the warhead and core of the bomb were changed to diamonds made with alchemical technology. Xu Zhehan took a few steps forward and chanted the high-pitched dragon text again. With the experience of chanting for the first time, he became more proficient. Soon, the second scorching and dazzling sun rose from the corridor and smashed into the alien that rushed over like a tank. Boom! The explosion was deafening, as if several bombs had exploded on the 12th floor. The raging flames shattered the glass of the walls on both sides of the corridor, and thick smoke billowed. In fact, it was almost the same. The explosion of the Junyan in such a narrow place was like a napalm bomb. There was nothing intact on the 12th floor except for the supporting structures such as pillars and load-bearing walls. Even the ceiling of the 12th floor and the floor of the 13th floor were completely plowed by the Junyan. But the toughness of the giant alien was beyond Xu Zhehan's imagination. Taking a direct attack from the Junyan only stopped its charge. It was burning with bright orange flames, and the Japanese no mask on its face had been broken, revealing a hideous face. And the eyes that burned into red gold. Being stared at by these golden eyes, Xu Zhehan felt that the air he breathed became sticky, and his brain nerves seemed to be pricked by needles. The body's instinct sent an escape alarm to itself, which was due to the suppression of bloodliner. Legend has it that in front of a real dragon, a mixed blood with impure bloodliner can only surrender and kneel on the ground, and can't even raise his head to meet the great existence. Well done, brother. Let's purify him together. The man at Raw talked through the billowing black smoke. Lumenfei rushed towards the huge alien with a chainsaw sword in hand and the burning residual heat under his feet. The so-called bloodliner suppression of the alien did not affect him at all. Whether the enemy is a false god or an alien, as long as it harms mankind, it can only wait for the accused angel to purify it thoroughly. Xu Zhehan gritted his teeth and recited the Emperor's battle prayer loudly. His tenacious will and nascent devout faith forcibly overcame the suppression of the alien bloodliner. He pulled out Mura's aim and followed Lumenfei's footsteps to kill the deformed alien. Bang! 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 The grenade gun roared, and 3 bright red Lotus Galaxy spiral bombs were ejected with strong flames. The sharpened solid diamond bomb hit the alien's knee in an instant. The high-speed diamond warhead pierced its iron blue scales with amazing kinetic energy, and then the warhead exploded, almost blowing off its legs. The alien lost the balance of controlling its huge body and staggered to the ground. At this moment, Mingfei's chainsaw sword in his other hand had already killed it in front of it, ready to cut its head in half. So the comment function of this chapter of Diamond is closed. Thank you to the 2 big guys Algi Shikadesu and Yuzi for the 5,000 rewards. Thank you to the big guy Lamkuri for the 4,000 rewards. Thank you to the Sergeant, Bookfriend 2019051819475394844 and dozens of other loyal angels for their rewards and support. Thank you to all the Astates for your monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Thank you. Chapter 44. Psychic power and word spirit. Sparks and black blood flew everywhere, the roaring chainsaw sword fell on the head, and the high-speed rotating chain blade bit the alien's head frantically. But the toughness of the other party's blasphemous body was beyond Mingfei's imagination. After the chainsaw sword penetrated 3/4 of the flesh, the speed of the chain blade's rotation slowed down significantly. Mingfei frowned, and before he could take the next step, a picture suddenly flashed in his mind. The alien with flames all over its body roared softly, and its rough palm clenched into a fist, smashing towards him like a furious battering ram. Mingfei subconsciously raised the explosive pistol and fired. Bang bang! Broken scales and flesh flew everywhere, and 2 fiery red explosive bombs instantly blew the alien's rough palm to only 1 finger. What's going on? Mingfei was slightly stunned. When he decisively pulled out the chainsaw sword stuck on the alien's head and planned to change the execution method, a scene appeared in his mind again. The alien used its only remaining left arm to support the ground, and leaped with all its might, and a huge shadow enveloped him. 8 black and sharp ribs like steel broke out from the alien's 2 ribs, opening a deadly embrace to him. Here it comes again. The body's instinctive reaction prompted Mingfei to jump back, and his eyes immediately locked on the alien's left hand, which was now supporting the ground. Then, just like the image flashed in his mind, the alien jumped up and stretched out its ribs. But Mingfei was no longer there. The alien touched the hot and charred floor, and the sharp ribs were ridiculously broken by its own weight. Prophecy, no, is this the perfect time? Mingfei raised the explosive pistol and aimed at the head of the alien lying on the ground like a living target. Bang! Bang! The trigger was pulled, and 2 red Lotus Galaxy spiral bombs were fired, and the execution method was changed to the more efficient Emperor's Wrath. Since there was a chance to kill with 1 blow, Mingfei did not need to use the chainsaw sword to demonstrate and review the superb sword skills unique to the weaves on this alien. Simple, efficient, and deadly. This is the fighting method that Mingfei has always implemented. But what he is thinking about now is not this. Is it the psychic power of the precognition system, or is it the embodiment of my word spirit? Mingfei is not sure. Psychic power is one of the most powerful special powers in that cold universe. According to the documents of the chapter, its power comes from the subspace. People with this extraordinary power are called psychics. Generally, in a standard Astates chapter, there will be several Astates who can use psychic power as think tanks, usually responsible for recording the clerical work of the chapter, and in battle, they can become destroyers and destroy the enemy with psychic power. The think tanks of the Lamenters fell in the betrayal war that shamed the Gene Father. Mingfei's understanding of psychic power was also learned by reading materials. And their Gene Father, the Holy Angel, Saintly Earth, is a powerful precognitive psychic. He foresaw his fate of dying in order to protect the Emperor, but still went to the center of the Great Rebellion without hesitation to face the great treason Horus. The precognitive picture that flashed in his mind just now was quite consistent with the ability of the prophetic psychic, perfect timing. But Mingfei is not sure whether the concept of subspace exists in his hometown, and it may also be derived from the power of the alien bloodline in his body. The screams from the other side of the elevator interrupted Mingfei's thoughts. Tyler Donald fell to the ground and wailed in pain. His thigh was completely cut off, and the blood gushing from the broken end dyed his white doctor's coat red. Shuzaham stood aside with an expressionless face, fine drops of water seeping out of the bright and cold blade in his hand, washing away the remaining sinful blood. After realizing that Mingfei could deal with the deformed monster alone, Shuzaham set his sights on Taylor Donald. The other party also realized this and tried to escape, but was chased by Shuzaham and his legs were cut off. "You, what kind of monsters are you?" Taylor stared at the boy walking towards him and shouted with a pale and distorted face. Unlike those small Deadpools like Chucky, this combat Deadpool is his masterpiece, a biological weapon created by combining all his knowledge of alchemy. With the dragon blood in its body, it is enough to suppress most of the hybrids with low bloodliness and make them unable to resist. For example, the guy who came to his door early yesterday morning couldn't even stand under the pressure of the dragon blood of his masterpiece, and was hit half to death by a punch. Then he was hacked to pieces by other small Deadpools who rushed over, leaving behind words written in blood as a provocation. Unexpectedly, today the situation was reversed. His masterpiece didn't even cause any substantial damage to the two little ghosts, and his hands, feet and head were blown off by a few shots. What qualifications do you have to call others monsters as a heretic who creates monsters? Shuzaham said coldly. If it weren't for the intention to pry out some valuable information, he would have killed this heretic scum with a knife. Now the fate of Taylor Donald will be handed over to Mingfei. You have 10 seconds. Mingfei put down the chainsaw sword and removed the magazine of the bolt pistol. There was still a Red Lotus Galaxy spiral bomb left in it. 10 seconds, I say. I say it all. I'm just a half-blood who loves alchemy. This weird instrument sound was given to me by the woman under his command. Mingfei took out the magazine that he had not used up just now, weighed it. There were still 3 metal storm bombs left in it. Then he reinserted it into the bolt gun. That Jinxiaxu has nothing to do with me. That woman asked me to do it. She said it was a gift for you, and asked me to deliver it to your ward. With a slight sound, Mingfei reloaded the bolt pistol. Don't kill me. You can't kill me. I'm already theirs. Even your leader knows, Emperor. We're him, bang. The cries of heretic, crazy hybrid Taylor Donald were drowned out by the roar of the bolt gun and stopped abruptly. His sinful soul will be completely burned by the wrath of the Emperor. Is the sinful heretic worthy of this honorific? Mingfei said coldly, putting away the smoking bolt pistol. When he said our leader, did he mean Professor Schneider or Principal Eng? Shuzaham said softly. Ask the person in charge of this farce. Mingfei said, bending down to pick up the chainsword on the ground. The flowing blood and black blood dried on the hot and broken floor, winding like twisted venomous snakes. Flames, blood, black smoke, and dead monsters make up such a weird painting. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 45 Emperor. When Li Jinxing and 2 specialists rushed to the 12th floor to provide support. The residual heat of the giant explosion in the corridor had cooled down. But the pungent smell of burning in the air had not yet dissipated, and the dry blood was winding on the broken floor like a long snake. They were all shocked by the scene of broken walls and ruins in front of them, and the corpse of the huge unknown creature lying on the ground shocked their eyes even more. It was as if a high-speed train passed by, and a fierce battle that they could not imagine took place here. S level? The black-haired female specialist next to Li Jinxing asked in a trembling voice. Her word spirit is Lingling at serial number 36, which can accelerate the regeneration of cells in the injured part of the organism. To put it bluntly, it is equivalent to the priest profession in World of Warcraft, a nanny who specializes in treatment. Considering that the mission site was in the hospital, most of the specialists Li Jinxing arranged were auxiliary, and there were not many combat specialists. Even if he wanted to arrange them, he couldn't. The specialists in the executive department were running around all over the world, and it was not like someone would come just by saying the hospital dungeon needs output, Junyan needs tanks, immortal. I don't know, I hope he's okay. Li Jinxing took a deep breath and looked up at the 13th floor. The gap between the 2 floors had been plowed apart by some huge force, and even exposed steel bars that were melted could be seen. As a full-time combat specialist in the executive department, Li Jinxing was appointed by the minister as the commander-in-chief of this mission. He was under a lot of pressure. He had imagined how cunning the fallen hybrids hiding here would be, and they might be mixed in among the patients in the hospital and wait for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Or they might be hiding in a blind spot of the surveillance, and would stretch out their evil blades at any time to hurt their specialists, but he didn't expect that the enemy had already climbed over their heads. When Li Jinxing realized this, the power supply of the monitoring center had been cut off. The brain and eyes of this mission was the first to be fatally attacked. But fortunately, his word spirit is the brain is sword control. The word spirit at the 82nd sequence in the word spirit periodic table is said to be discovered and named by Taoist and Shizendaling. When I used to control the sword, I climbed Cumberland Mountain in the west. The wings of the dragon followed behind me, and the white tiger turned into Filion. The releaser of the word spirit can precisely control metal objects in a field centered on itself, similar to the ability of Magneto in X-Men. When those small enemies that looked like Chucky rushed out of the ceiling and entered Li Jinxing's expanded field, the metal knives in their hands were instantly controlled by a force, and they turned back and pierced their throats and were all killed. But the interruption of contact had caused great trouble to the mission. Fortunately, Caesar organized an operation to support and rescue other commissioners, and kill them all the way down from the upstairs to join them. They should be up there. Another commissioner whispered. Sure enough, in the relatively intact Ward 1309, Li Jinxing saw S-level Lumenfei and A-level Shu Zuhan. It's great that you're all okay, Li Jinxing finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lumenfei didn't reply, but just quietly looked at the brightly lit Chicago outside the glass window. And the police cars, ambulances and fire trucks that completely surrounded the entire building. Li Jinxing glanced at the ward. On the bed in the middle of the ward, a beautiful black-haired woman was sleeping soundly. Shu Zuhan stood by with Mura's aim in his hand, not saying a word. The blood-stained chainsaw sword and the explosive pistol were lying on the innermost bed. The first time they saw such a violent weapon, the two commissioners beside Li Jinxing were both shocked. How many casualties were there in this mission? After a moment of silence, Lumenfei asked softly. Only 4 temporary commissioners were seriously injured, but fortunately they were rescued in time and are not in serious condition. The remaining commissioners were slightly injured, not serious. Ordinary people had all been evacuated before the accident, and there were no casualties. Li Jinxing hesitated a little, but still told the truth. Although it seemed that Lumenfei was more like the commander-in-chief of this mission. Not bad. Take this woman down for a comprehensive checkup. Lumenfei nodded. Woman. Li Jinxing then remembered that before the incident, a pregnant woman was temporarily sent to this room at the request of the doctor, but was not transferred in time. But looking at this woman's belly, she doesn't look like a pregnant woman. Did something happen to her? Li Jinxing asked. The heretic used some method to stuff an alien into her belly. The heretic was a doctor and was killed by me. Lumenfei was concise. Your task arrangement is quite unqualified. Sorry, Li Jinxing's heart beat fast when he heard the attending doctor of the hospital say that there were not enough wards and wanted to request to temporarily arrange a pregnant woman into an S-level room. He looked through the information of the pregnant woman and found that there was no problem. He then asked Minister Schneider and finally agreed to this request. Who would have thought that there was a murderous monster hidden in the pregnant woman's belly? Is she safe? I think so. Where's Schneider? He's the one responsible for this farce, right? Let him come to see me. Lumenfei's voice turned cold. I've notified the minister, he should be here soon. Li Jinxing could feel the oppressive invisible aura on Lumenfei's body. He didn't look like a 16-year-old boy at all, but more like a veteran who had crawled out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. As expected of an S-level selected by the principal, it's no wonder that Minister Schneider directly appointed him as the candidate for fishing, but judging from Lumenfei's performance, this is no longer fishing, it's frying fish. Your bait mission was completed quite well, and all dangerous targets have been eliminated. Schneider, wrapped in a black windbreaker, looked at the 2 temporary specialists in the ward calmly. Listen, Schneider. Lumenfei stared at Minister von Schneider coldly and called him by his name without any courtesy. I don't mind helping you purify these damn aliens and heretics, but next time you either host your house game yourself or let me take over the organization. I don't quite understand what you mean, S-level student Lumenfei. Schneider's iron-grey eyes looked directly at Lumenfei, and his hoarse voice became much deeper, obviously quite unhappy. Li Jinxing lowered his head and dared not breathe. No student or executive department specialist dared to talk to the iron-blooded Minister Schneider like this. And as the poor commander of this operation, he did not dare to speak out. Before I review this farce with you, I think you have to answer me a question first. Emperor, who is he? Lumenfei asked coldly. Emperor? Schneider repeated the term hoarsely. That's what the heretic doctor I killed said. He said you know who the Emperor is. Schneider pondered for a long time, and finally took a deep breath and took off the iron mask on his face. A face that would give people nightmares was revealed. His face below his eyes was made of dry grey flesh and blood, with only a layer of skin attached to the bones. He had no nose and no lips, and his teeth were exposed. At this time, his teeth were bared, as if he was smiling, but his hoarse voice was filled with deep hatred and anger. Yes, the Emperor. I think I do know him. Chapter 46 Mission ended. If there is whiskey, I really want to drink it now. I didn't expect Taylor Donald to be related to the Emperor. Who is he? Where is he now? Mingfei has already reached out and picked up the chainsaw on the bed to check the wear of the chain blade. It seems that he can immediately set out to chop down the so-called Emperor. His subordinate is such a brutal heretic who harms mankind, so he must be a heretic or even an alien who is extremely evil. As the loyal angel of death of the Emperor, he will never allow the name of Emperor to be desecrated by a heretic who harms mankind. This also includes the largest alien, Black Emperor. Hectares, where is he? Schneider's hoarse voice, as if exhaled from a broken bellows, was full of sarcasm. Since 2003, I have been looking for his traces all over the world. At the time, he was still called Prince Greenland's Shadow. Shuzaham suddenly spoke softly. It seems that you have all used your student privilege as well. Schneider glanced at Shuzaham and put on his own breathing mask that looked like a mask again. Greenland's Shadow is Professor Schneider's idea on the Night Watcher forum, and it is also the shadow that hangs over his heart for the rest of his life. Mingfei and Shuzaham had searched for information about Xu Tianzhao's records in the college library. This included the Greenland Sea operation in November 2002. Attracted by the mysterious heartbeat, the executive department of Castle College went to investigate and encountered an enemy suspected to be the Dragon King in the depths of the ice sea. They were almost wiped out, with only 1.5 people surviving. Although it is not known which one Schneider belongs to. But after saving his life in this operation, he went from a professor of dragon genealogy to the iron-blooded head of the executive department. Standing on the front line against the fallen hybrids and the dragons. I owe this half-necrotic face and the nearly useless alveolate of them. The air that thing exhaled was like liquid nitrogen. I never thought there was cold air of -200 degrees in the world. Mingfei interrupted Schneider impatiently. So when can you find these heretics? He didn't feel anything about Schneider's experience. He was lucky to be able to come back alive and organize a revenge force to fight back. His fighting brothers who were devoured alive by the filthy alien insects didn't even leave their bodies. They couldn't even be buried in the dreadnoughts to continue fighting for the Emperor and protecting humanity. You look more anxious to take revenge on them than I am. Just because of that woman? Schneider's iron-grey eyes stared at Mingfei again. Do you know her? Mingfei's expression suddenly turned cold. If it were a woman who gave birth to an alien like this, the Astatas of other chapters would kill her without hesitation. But he is a weaker after all. When he was still a humble human slave, he saw with his own eyes that a weaker Astates was beheaded by an orc to save him. It was as stupid as a person drowning to save an ant from falling into the water. So he hesitated. If there was a nun here, he could still hand over this poor hypnotized woman to those fighting sisters, instead of doing it himself. I just thought she would be a killer target on you. I didn't know she was just an ordinary woman with Deadpool in her belly. Schneider said. Then I hope you can know more things in advance next time, Schneider. For example, the alien in this woman's belly, the ugly knocking sound that made me very uncomfortable, they are all gifts given to me by the so-called Emperor. I don't remember knowing this evil alien. You'd better investigate it and tell me where he is. Mingfei put away the explosive pistol on the bed and said coldly. If the Emperor is really coming for you, I suggest you have a good chat with the principal. As the MVP of this war practice mission, the principal invites you to have afternoon tea in his office tomorrow afternoon. This is a special honor among students, you should not refuse. Schneider's iron-grey eyes drooped slightly. MVP. The one who performed outstandingly in the mission. Then this honor should go to Shuzaham, whose word spirit purified a large number of aliens with the highest efficiency. Mingfei said. No need to shirk, his afternoon tea will be held the day after tomorrow. It seems that both of you used word spirits, and judging from the performance on the scene, one of them is a high-risk word spirit. Schneider's eyes swept over Shuzaham. Serial number 89, Junyan. Shuzaham answered truthfully, not intending to hide it. Then the explosion in the elevator shaft that became an incinerator is still normal performance. Schneider nodded. The Academy, how do you plan to explain the situation here? Shuzaham asked. The external explanation is that terrorists invaded, created panic and explosions. Your words make this statement more tenable. What about this building? The school board has already invested in the hospital, and Sacred Heart Maria has belonged to Castle College 20 minutes ago. We have plenty of time to investigate and destroy the Deadpool alchemy technology mastered by Taylor Donald and all the Deadpool corpses, Schneider said calmly. Shusaham felt that he still underestimated the strength of the college in all aspects. Especially Taylor Donald is also related to the Emperor. I believe that Principal will be excited about this news. In addition, according to the decision of the school board, the mission records of the two of you will be sealed and kept confidential, with a confidentiality level of S. But you will still have an additional A+ mission experience on your resume, and the credit points and bonuses will not be missed, Schneider said. Mingfei never spoke up to express any opinions. After putting the chainsaw sword and the grenade gun back into the suitcase, he suddenly frowned and looked at the brightly lit Chicago outside the window with a sense of touch. And 7 kilometers southeast of the Sacred Heart of Mary Hospital, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Chicago, on the 33rd floor. The black-haired woman put away the sniper rifle on the windowsill, stretched her body lazily, and let out a comfortable moan. Her white bathrobe was silently removed, revealing the thrilling curves on her equally white body. The water in the bathtub was already a little warm, but she didn't care, and immersed her perfect figure in the wine-red rose petals. She picked up the mobile phone next to the bath salt box and dialed a frequent contact number. The call was quickly connected. Hello? Long-legged girl. Are you done with babysitting? A lazy female voice came from the other end, and there was also a crunch sound like chewing potato chips. It can only be regarded as a live-action version of Harry Potter. The little expressionless guy can spit big fireballs, and the little white rabbit picks up a chainsaw for close combat. The woman sighed. It seems that our 2 nannies will be unemployed. I am not willing to have the benefit of accommodation in a 5-star hotel every time I go out. Hectares, the only nannies who can enjoy such benefits are probably the housekeepers who have lots, but for a top-notch housekeeper like you, I am happy to spend money to have lots. Okay, let's not go off topic, potato chip girl. The woman's voice became low. What did the boss say? The Emperor, the gifts he prepared for the little white rabbit are a terrible one. What else can I say? Let us 2 gentle nannies go find that crewmate on the opposite side. Then let the little white rabbit deal with it. Oh no, now he should be called Little Angel. Chapter 47 Eva, Castle College, 2 o'clock in the morning. A burly figure pushed open the door of the library. It was silent inside. The bright moonlight from the French windows reflected the dust on the long table. After 12 o'clock, the school workers responsible for patrolling the library also went off work, and the security work was fully handed over to the school secretary Norma. If an unauthorized person tried to break in, the electric shock defense system hidden in the dark would bring the intruder ecstasy of pleasure. Then the muscular men of the schoolwork department who were awakened by the alarm and rushed to the news would double the intruder's enjoyment. But the man walked into the depths of the library without any scanning or questioning. The elevator light came on, and the elevator door slowly opened, carrying the man all the way down. Castle College is not like an ancient castle built on the hillside on the surface. In fact, this is only a small part of it. The entire mountain is hollowed out in half, and the core of the college, Alheim, the archives room, the ice cellar, the system computer room, are located in these half-hollowed parts. The man hummed a little tune as the elevator music, otherwise the silent elevator that went down steadily all the way made him feel like a pool of stagnant water. The elevator went down to the bottom floor, and the man walked into the basement along the corridor with his hands behind his back. The security system is in hibernation, the camera is not working, and there is no record of your entry and exit this time. The voice of Norma, the secretary of the college, sounded. Compared with the old-fashioned mechanical synthesized tone, its voice at this time seemed more human. I will restart the system when you leave later. Do you have something to do here? If there is nothing, I won't come. Let's meet old friends on the way. The man said softly, enter the Eva personality activation program. So you care about the appearance? I am still me, whether it is Norma's personality or Eva's personality, at the deepest level, I am still me. Norma said in a soft voice. The huge screen suddenly darkened, and only a large number of red and green lights were flashing in the darkness. The huge personality data poured into this superhost, like seawater pouring into a river. The hard disk light, data flow indicator light, and host frequency indicator light were all flashing at 10 times the speed, and getting faster and faster. The last almost crazy frequency had controlled the rhythm of the entire basement. The faint light illuminated the smile on the corner of the man's mouth. Suddenly, all the light went out, and the basement fell into absolute darkness. A beam of light came down from directly above the head, standing in front of the swivel chair, like snow, and fluorescent fragments drifted slowly in the beam of light. The shadow of a girl stood in the center of the beam. She was glittering and transparent, with long black hair hanging down slowly until her feet, but the ends of her hair were floating in the air. She was wearing a silk dress like pajamas, barefoot, and smiling. Eva. The man sighed, gently stretched out his hand, and sank into the beam. What you can touch is just air, why do you still stretch out your hand? The girl called Eva said softly. I'd just like to hold your hand, it's a habit of mine. The man whispered, and the fluorescent fragments fell into his palm and disappeared in an instant. Eva covered his palm with a translucent hand, but it could not bring the slightest touch. Those were just illusions of light and shadow, and 3D imaging technology preserved the lost memories. The man gently closed his hands, holding them empty, as if he was really holding a girl's hand. It's been almost 5 years. He said faintly. Yeah, I finally got the news of the Crown Prince. No, now we should call him the Emperor. Eva said softly. The man raised his head, and his whole aura changed. From a romantic man who had a tryst with his lover, he turned into an extremely cold revenge killer. Really? He asked in a deep voice. The news comes from the war practice class that just ended yesterday. The S-level Mingfei killed the fallen hybrid tailor Donald who possessed the mysterious alchemy technology. According to what he said before his death, he was the Emperor's man, and this mission was planned specifically for Mingfei. The light and shadow changed, revealing the image of Mingfei. Judging from the angle of the picture, the camera responsible for shooting should be the undamaged surveillance camera in the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital. In the center of the screen, Mingfei fired and slashed with the rough weapon, and the small dead pools that flew towards him were directly killed in mid-air. Strolling leisurely, without any panic, a natural and efficient killing machine, no wonder the principal likes him so much. Although I don't know why the Emperor would target him, but at least, I may have a chance to kill the Emperor with my own hands. The man said softly. Yeah, only by killing him can you feel at ease. Eva said, then killed him. Several beams of light from top to bottom appeared simultaneously in front, behind, and on both sides of the man, and in each beam of light stood a translucent figure. There was a leather-clad girl with neatly combed short red hair, an indifferent boy wearing sunglasses, a man in black with a solemn face like a monk, and a charming girl with long curly hair with her head tilted. Including Eva, there were 6 people in total, and they all put their hands on the man's shoulders. Their hands overlapped and melted together, and they smiled at the same time, like the smile in a dim old photo, which is still as bright as ever after many years. Don't play this game, Eva. The man shook his head. They are not here, they are all sleeping under the ice sea thousands of kilometers away, locked in those metal diving suits. They will not die, but they can never come back. The other beams of light disappeared, leaving only Eva, and she sighed silently. I should go. I hope I can get something from Minister Schneider tomorrow. I'll wait for your good news. Eva silently watched the man's receding back. Compared with a few years ago, his back was not as straight. The girl in the illusory beam of light shed tears silently, and the tears dripped onto the metal floor, splashing a bright blue, illusory glow. The roaring black dragon rushed out of the red ocean, bathing in the rising sun, and the silver pattern shone brightly. The CC-1000 express train set off early to welcome the students returning from the war practice class. There is no doubt that Mingfei and Shuzham have become heroes in the eyes of the students. When they came down from upstairs, all the specialists involved in this mission gave them the warmest applause. Including the blonde nobleman Caesar Gattuso, he smiled and gave them a thumbs up in the crowd. On the platform, Professor Guerin with silver hair had been waiting for a long time. He was very happy that his 2 precious students were okay. Mingfei. Zohan. Your glorious deeds have spread throughout the college. Especially you, Mingfei. From today on, no one in the academy will question your S-class status anymore. Mingfei just smiled politely and didn't care too much about it. Send you back to the Black Moon Pavilion? To be honest, I haven't seen that perfect picture of angels leading the army for a while. The ancient epic and science fiction are combined so well. I heard that when you hung up this painting, it alarmed several tenured professors of Dragon Alchemy who were masters of painting. Guerin drove his silver-white BMW and talked to his 2 outstanding students happily. Please take me to the equipment department, Professor. Mingfei said politely. Since renting the Black Moon Pavilion, he and Shuzham have not lived in the dormitory. After all, it would be a waste if the Black Moon Pavilion is not used properly with a rent of tens of thousands of dollars a year. Thanks to the support of many angels of death, such as Hypocritical Indescribable, Big Take, Dimension Stone, Red Scythe of Death, Eat My Oil Soup, Lulu, Tiger and Snow. Thank you. Thank you to all the loyal Astates for your monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Thank you. Chapter 48 Armor Preparation. Welcome back S-Class. A bright red banner was hung at the gate of Walhalheim. The psychopaths, wearing all kinds of fancy decorative shells, meaningless silver-red leather suits, colorful clothes, gave a warm welcome to Mingfei, who walked out of the elevator. Mingfei was not surprised, but felt that this was at least normal. The last time he entered Walhalheim was when he was invited to test the prototype version of the grenade launcher. Then each of these people greeted him in thick biochemical protective clothing, making him look like a traitor who fell into the arms of the plague evil god, exuding stench and viruses. You performed very well in the war practice class yesterday, S-Class. Director Akagila gave a thumbs up. He was wearing a formal white lab coat and was obviously a normal person among this group of people. You receive information very quickly. Mingfei said. Of course, we waited for a long time last night with popcorn and coke. As expected of an S-Class, the one-shot battle scene made our blood boil. Minister Springhill praised loudly. Others also cheered. Mingfei felt something was wrong. He didn't remember there was such a group of spectators in the battle to eliminate the aliens last night. We have hung microcameras on the 2 grenade guns. When you raise the gun, we will be immersed in the scene as if watching a movie from the first-person perspective. This is real-time monitoring of weapon data, not watching a movie. You should pay attention to the words. Director Akagila scolded. Whatever, I'm used to your style of doing things. Mingfei shook his head and didn't care about it. He handed the box containing the chainsword and the bolter back to the technicians in strange costumes. The bolter feels good, and the special armor-piercing bolter is more lethal than I thought. Yoo-hoo. Our Red Lotus Galaxy spiral bomb is as powerful as Simon's drill. The working group responsible for making the Red Lotus bomb cheered excitedly. Recheck it, if there is no problem, you can prepare for painting. Mingfei said. Please give it to us. The Red Lotus bomb team said excitedly. They all had a miniature bolter hanging on their waists, and the gun was painted with a cartoon girl with fiery red hair. Mingfei politely rejected this request. He still chose to use the version of the painting preset he left behind, with gold and red as the main body, and the logo was the blood of the wings of the blood angels and the weeping heart of the weeper. The chain blade of the chainsword, is this the best we can do so far? Mingfei asked. Compared to the bolter, the chainsaw sword did not perform very well against the giant alien and failed to cut its head directly. It is still too difficult to achieve the strength of a single molecule. We already have a silicon carbide version. We can start the experiment after we get the body sample of the Deadpool you killed. The team leader in charge of the production of the chainsaw sword replied. Okay. Mingfei looked at the hot eyes of the technicians in front of him, including Director Akagila, and knew what they were thinking. The next blueprint is a technological armor, or it would be more appropriate to describe it as an exoskeleton. Send someone to the Black Moon Pavilion to get it the day after tomorrow. I still have some last-minute parts to complete. Mingfei said. Armor. Great. Could it be the kind worn by the super soldiers behind the angel in the painting of the Black Moon Pavilion? It looks quite heavy. Probably not. The S-Class said it would be an exoskeleton. Wouldn't it be the kind from Iron Man? We can't even handle the energy system of that, and it doesn't look explosive enough. The technical elites of Walhalheim were quite excited, especially those wearing Kamen Rider armor. Mingfei had previously searched and watched a few episodes of dramas with this kind of armor as the theme. Although it looks fancy, it still has its merits, such as portability. All you need is a belt, a card, and then shout transform to put on the armor and start fighting immediately, without the cumbersome armor-wearing process. This is exactly what Mingfei needs. As an Astates, power armor is his second body. Especially after the battle with the false god on the viaduct, Mingfei has always felt that something is missing and he feels uncomfortable all over. But power armor is not something that can be made just by saying so. The ceramic steel, fiber bundle simulation, drive servo system, life support system, all of these require the support of science and technology. Moreover, the power armor is inseparable from the body transformation that the Astates have undergone. Apart from other things, in terms of the human circulatory system alone, the concept of going to the toilet does not exist for the Astates who have undergone body transformation. Their gastrointestinal absorption and consumption capacity has reached 100%, and even military rations mixed with carbonized ceramics and heavy metal elements can be completely digested. In addition, the sixth stage of the Astates road surgery, the implantation of special organ tonic ganglia, allows the Astates to have the ability to fight for hundreds of hours without eating, drinking or sleeping. In this case, there is naturally no chance to take off the armor to go to the toilet and then put on the power armor. The final stage of the 19th stage surgery, the black shell, is the core of the Astates, turning the power armor into a part of their body. After being implanted under their skin, this active tissue will extend nerve fibers deep into the body. After fully mature, the human nerves and the artificial nerve tissue of the shell will be combined into one. The bioelectric signal can be directly and accurately transmitted to the power armor system through the neurobiological interface, thereby controlling the power armor and obtaining relevant information about the power armor. At the same time, the power armor has the ability to maintain life and emergency medical treatment. Therefore, without the necessary surgical modification support, the power armor is like a 1 or 2 ton steel coffin. So Mingfei set his sights on the light power armor of the Battle Sisters, the shell armor of the Storm Soldiers, and other mortal elite armor. Then, over and over again, Mingfei always felt that these armors were not big enough, hard enough, or strong enough. Moreover, with the current level of material technology in his hometown, even if it is forcibly made, it may not provide very effective protection. It is better to give up defense and go all out. So, Mingfei recalled one of the armors used by the Battle Sisters, the model armor. This armor is more like an exoskeleton armor, which can be equipped with super powerful firepower, and the requirements for body modification are not as high as those of the power armor. Mingfei thought that those fanatical white-haired Battle Sisters could use it, and he should be able to use it too. They are all warriors who are loyal to the Emperor and fight for the Emperor, regardless of gender. As for whether it can be built and how long it will take, it depends on the level of the elites of Walheim. The temperature dropped today and my head hurts. The chapter and comment functions will probably not be restored until the 23rd. Chapter 49 Afternoon Tea. Principal Anger's invitation to afternoon tea is an honor that is more coveted than the highest scholarship for the students of Castle Academy. The principal's office is not far from Valhalla. From the outside, it is just a simple 2-story building surrounded by trees. But inside, it is a completely different feeling. The first and second floors of the building are connected. The quaint bookshelves that form the walls and extend to the dome are filled with a wide variety of hardcover books, and several empty slots are hung with several oil paintings by famous artists. In the middle of the dome is a huge skylight. In the exquisite white bone china cup on the table in front of Mingfei, the steaming black tea reflects the relatively warm afternoon sun. There are a few pieces of clava on a small plate next to it. A layer of sunshine gold gauze makes them look quite sweet and delicious. Turkish Black Seer's black tea, the tea aroma is quite good. Anger sat opposite Mingfei and sipped the black tea in the cup elegantly. I heard that the equipment department has given you a lot of support. It's just that each takes what he needs. Mingfei said. It is a great achievement for a student to be able to get what they want from each other. Except for me and the school board, no one can command these psychopaths who think art is explosion. Angus put down the bone china cup with a faint smile, and moved his gentle eyes to Mingfei. Let's get straight to the point. I know what you want to ask. Mingfei nodded. Yeah. The evil heretic who calls himself the Emperor. You seem to have a grudge against him, but you can't find him. Evil heretic. I like this name. The smile on Angus' face disappeared, and he said in a deep voice. Yes, we do have a grudge against him. In November 2002, most of the elite members of the executive department of the college were swallowed up by the ice sea of death. Were you ambushed by them? Mingfei asked. Rather than an ambush, it's better to say that they killed someone with a borrowed knife. Then it would be good for them no matter which side was killed. Angus gently stroked the bottom of the bone china cup. Just tell me, Principal Ange, Mingfei sighed softly, I don't really want to guess riddles unless it's about their location. Okay. In August 2002, an ID called Prince on the Hunter website posted a trade request. It's a place where half-bloods freely communicate and post tasks, and the Academy sometimes finds information about the dragon race and related alchemical items from it. Prince said he wanted to sell a metal relic of unknown origin for money, and the Academy recognized that the metal relic in his hand was actually a copper watch wreckage. You should have learned about the origin and knowledge of the Copper Watch in the course of the origin of Dragon civilization, so I won't review this for you. Mingfei nodded slightly. The Copper Watch refers to the history of the Dragon race written by the Black King Udhog on a towering copper pillar, called the IC Copper Pillar Watch. The Academy bought it for $10 million at the time and immediately began to decipher the Dragon characters recorded on it. A month later, the Academy learned from the remains of this bronze watch that there were ruins of Dragon civilization somewhere in the Greenland Sea, and there was a high possibility that there were still Dragon activities. Then you rushed over and encountered a powerful alien at the level of the Dragon King. At this point, Mingfei could roughly guess what was going on. Yes, even if it is not a Dragon King, it is a powerful second-generation species. It turned Schneider from a gentle and handsome professor of Dragon family genealogy into a cold-blooded revengeful evil ghost who trained students into warriors and sent them to the battlefield. Ange said in a deep voice. Then I feel that he didn't train them very well. Mingfei had only one comment on this. Compared to your performance last night, it is indeed not perfect. What Alheim was very proud to apply for research funding from me with your first person killed video. Ange did not hide the admiration in his tone at all. Mingfei did not deny it. It was later proved that the information on the remains of the bronze watch was forged. We have reason to suspect that this was a conspiracy planned by the prince, so we have been searching for information about him over the years. Finally, I learned about the Emperor, or the existence of this organization through the relationship of an old friend. But I didn't expect that I could find some traces of the Emperor in the Sacred Heart Maria Hospital this time. Angus said. Whether it is a person or an organization, their blasphemous acts of harming humans are enough to be called heresy. They will be purified. Mingfei said coldly. You're right, the black alchemy technology that turns humans into Deadpools, and those that have been transformed into Deadpool weapons in large quantities, have far exceeded the bottom line of the hybrids. Angus picked up the bone china cup again and drank the warm black tea in the cup. Their filthy souls should indeed be purified. The Academy is already doing its best to track down the whereabouts of the Emperor, and will notify you as soon as there is news. Okay. Mingfei nodded. But, don't you feel like you're being used as a gun? Ange picked up the bone china teapot, and the deep red tea poured out, filling the porcelain cup again with dense white steam. The smile on his face became meaningful. I'm just doing my job. You're responsible for reporting where there are aliens and heretics who harm humans, and I'm responsible for purifying and eliminating them. Mingfei said calmly. It sounds like a superhero protecting the Earth. Ange smiled. What about you? I'm curious that when Manstein questioned my changes over the past few months, you immediately acknowledged my beliefs and changes. This should not be the behavior of a cautious revenge warrior. Mingfei's eyes were fixed on Principal Ange, the alien-hating person who had lived for more than 120 years. You hate the dragons, that's enough. Like Schneider, I'm a vengeful devil. No matter what method or what kind of warrior, I will hang all the revived dragons, fill their coffins with mercury, light a cigar, and sink them into the trench at sunset. Ange said calmly. It seems that we have a lot in common in terms of destroying the aliens. Mingfei said. Also, about the Emperor, I think Fingal should be very interested. Fingal? Mingfei thought of a sturdy German man. When they first met, he wanted to develop him into a promoter of the glory of the Emperor because of his eloquence, but then he discouraged him because of his sloppy lifestyle. Shuzaham said the guy was the head of the information department, and there was even a scandal between the two of them some time ago. Yes, he is also one of the survivors of Greenland's shadow. He doesn't look like he has any injuries, so he is the one of the 1.5, right? No, he is just like Schneider, he only survived half. And shook his head. I'm really sorry, I had a headache last night, and I owe you all a chapter again. Chapter 50 Weapons. After Mingfei left, it was almost evening. The golden red sunset poured down from the skylight, dyeing that freshly brewed hot tea in the bone china cup on the table red. New guests were also walking up the stairs. An old man dressed as a cowboy, with a beer belly and a bottle of whiskey in his hand, sat down opposite Ange carelessly. He reached out and drank the tea in the cup directly, and then poured his own whiskey. Ange didn't say anything. Knowing that the vice president was come in, he didn't prepare any good tea. No matter how good the tea was, it was almost like sobering tea in the mouth of the old cowboy. If it weren't for his performance last night, I really thought he was your illegitimate child, and I would have squeezed him and no matter what. The old cowboy chuckled. His performance in the college in the past few months has not been too bad. Ange sighed. Very good. Every day when I ring the bell, I can see him and the other guy walking around the academy together. But you know, we don't rely on marathons to slay dragons. The old cowboy picked up the whiskey and gulped it from the bottle, then sighed comfortably. What about now? A top fighter. Undoubtedly S-level. A wild cowboy. It even makes me feel that the soul that resides in his body now is a Dragon King. The old cowboy exclaimed in admiration. If he was really a Dragon King, he wouldn't have saved a woman pregnant with Deadpool. Ange said softly, "Are the test results out?" "It came out this morning." "Guess what?" The old cowboy kept the suspense in broken Chinese. "Since your Chinese is not that good, don't tell me this in a Beijing dialect accent." Ange frowned. "Well, the woman is fine. Nothing happened to her. She is a completely normal woman." The old cowboy spread his hands. "Normal?" "Yes, if her uterus was not still swollen, I would suspect that the boy was making up a story. There is not a single special dragon cell in her body. According to the records left by the bastard doctor, even if the Deadpool in this woman's belly did not tear open her belly and give birth normally, she would go crazy and die later because of the pollution of dragon bloodline and alchemical drugs." The old cowboy said, staring at Ange who was sitting opposite. "You want to say, his words?" Ange read the thoughts of his old friend. "You didn't take the initiative to ask about his words? You are the principal." The old cowboy was a little dissatisfied. "Apart from the words, I can't think of any other power that can completely remove an aggressive Deadpool fetus while ensuring the safety of the mother." He said that he is not sure about his words yet. "Forget it. Let's talk about those dark alchemy. Did you find anything from it?" Ange shook his head, not wanting to continue to tangle with this topic. "No, these are all alchemy used by the ancient dragons to make soldiers and slaves. For the villains who want to destroy the world, these technologies are quite valuable. But I'm just an alchemy matrix guy. Unless you want me to turn my lovely students into those ghosts, I suggest you destroy these alchemy things immediately." Vice Principal Nicholas Flamel said. "It has been notified. Everything related to these alchemy items will be completely burned to ashes. Frost Gattuso of the board of directors is very interested in them." Angus said. "Oh, that fussy old man must be seizing the time to vigorously promote the plan now." The vice principal showed a gloating expression. The sudden appearance of two powerful little guys is enough to let him know that there are more talented people in Castle Academy than just Caesar Gattuso. There will be an auction in Chicago on the 6th of next month. I plan to take Mingfei there and meet old friends on the way." Angus said. "Are you determined to use him as Castle's trump card to promote him to the whole world?" "Why not? Don't forget, the elite. He has demonstrated his strength, precise, efficient, and fearless. And it's time for Castle to show his weapons. Since the shadow of Greenland, the members of the secret party have been very uneasy." Ange said lightly. "Of course, there is also the Emperor. These guys of unknown origin have finally surfaced." He realized it later and patted his head lightly. "But Mingfei is still a 16-year-old child, but from his current performance, he is more like a devout and selfless fanatical middle school believer, shouting about purification all day long." The vice president raised his eyebrows. "Regardless of age and personality, every half-blood who enters Castle Academy or even the secret party must be prepared to face the Dragon King. This is also the original intention of Castle." "Well, you're indeed right." He sighed, poured out the tea in Ange's cup, and replaced it with the only whiskey left in the bottle. "Then let's toast." Ange raised the bone china cup. "What to toast?" "Weapons." "Myself." "The dead." "I rarely think about toast when I drink alone." "Toast to someone," Ange said, "the one who seeks revenge and ends everything." The two clinked their glasses and drank them all. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.